Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to SimPlay Motorsport here for the penultimate week of Pro-Am action. I'm your host, Mathew Duffin, joined in the box by Dan Davis, who's just currently making a cup of coffee ready for tonight's action after a dramatic night of commentary on his own last night. It is that penultimate week, and we are here on British soil, on home soil, for our first of two trips to British circuits. It is Oulton Park tonight as we have this fantastic circuit ready to go. What a night it's going to be as we come through the fantastic, beautiful track here. Not the greatest for a racing fan. Dan, and I agree with Dan's opinion last night. It is probably the worst of the British circuits that is out there. But either way, it is what we have for tonight, and it is going to be a fantastic race as well. On the international circuit, the full-length track, not the Fosters, not the Island. And we're currently on board with Gary Clauble, who is coming into Hislop chicane now and then coming through Knickerbrook, one of the best corner names in the world, without a doubt. I have to say, as he's just clipped off the wall there, a couple of drivers in the pits. There will be no Andrew Taylor, no Monkey Boy. There will be no Darren Bell. They've had to drop out at last moment. And still no Casper Ollin as it stands of yet. But we have got a great stacked grid of 22 drivers, and for one man in particular, he can wrap up that Drivers' Championship in race one tonight, and that is Richie Michel, or Michele, I believe he said it's pronounced, but we'll stick with Richie Michel for the time being. A few penalties for tonight as well. Playerman will have a quali ban, as will Mirko Ricci, Lando Norris, and that of Jamie. Lando Norris, Jamie and Mirko Ricci will also have a race one ban, so they are to stay in the pit lane during race one. And it's going to be an interesting one to see who can do what tonight. It's going to be a real good night of racing, a real good night of pro action around this circuit. It has been a pretty long season, a really good season this year, and it's provided many thrills and spills, but one man who stood above the rest is that of Richie Michel. He's been fantastic all year long and has really been a cut above the rest this season. He has I don't really know what to say about him. He's been absolutely fantastic all year round, and well, he's going to be trying to take that championship crown that Max Mulder held last season. He's going to be trying to add to that championship for Lamborghini. Obviously backing up Dan's in the Lamborghini last season in the pro category. To be another championship going the way of Lamborghini this season. And it's going to be absolutely vital to see what he will do next season in that pro category. So as we say, two trips to Oulton Park. Two trips in England, one at Oulton Park, one at Donington Park next week, the home of SimPlay Motorsport, as we say good evening to Paul Williams in the chat as well. And really, it's going to be an interesting race and season finale at Donington Park. We know the GT4s are already going to Donington, but Pro-Am and Pro can be done tonight. One that won't be done tonight is them Constructors' Championship standings, although the Team Dane Train boys aren't here, but with Mirko Ricci missing one race, that kind of isn't going to help them win them championships tonight unless Casper Ollin does get himself into the lobby, and at the minute it doesn't look like that is the case. So possibly a chance of both championships being done tonight. Same tomorrow. Both championships could be done tomorrow, possibly will be done tomorrow, and we know Ferrari have already taken that. One thing I want to mention before we get into things as well is congratulations to Kelly. I had the stats page wrong on a little bit, and it hadn't actually totaled up his appearances. So KLF, Kelly Davis, has actually made his 200th race start. He did it 13 races ago, so we'll get the image out for Kelly. But a few other milestones last night. Janetta, 25th race win. Darren Belly's 50th race start. Old Sim Racer, 50th race start. And Alpine, 100th race start. As a few other milestones will be hit, will be tried to be achieved throughout the course of this evening, no doubt. And a few of them, just to say the least, is Porsche, one pole for 50th. Gary Clauble could be on form for that. McLaren are 5 wins away from 100. They're not going to achieve that this week now, due to the fact that they needed one in GT4s, but there is no McLaren there due to Rushton dropping out from the season. Mercedes only need 4 podiums. There'll be at least John Gooday on the grid to try and get a podium for Mercedes. If you can get 2, that'll be brilliant. And then tomorrow night, Ford will get will get its 100th race start in the hands of Overtaker, and then as well as Skunky making his 50th race start as well. So few milestones still coming up tonight. The most successful drivers around this circuit, if you're looking at race wins, that is myself and Fury on 3 race wins apiece. Fury is the overall most successful on this circuit with 2 poles and 2 race wins. But for pole positions, it is Fury, it is Andy, and it is Dan as well when Dan joins us in the box, who are the most pole positions around this track. So once again, Mirko, Richie, Jamie and Lando Norris cannot go out onto that formation lap, cannot start the race. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. Evening to NLR Andy, Andrew in the chat. Great GT4s last night. Let's have another one today. It was fantastic, to be fair. There was a few incidents, I know, but all in all, I thought the GT4s looked pretty good last night. Tight circuit, though. I remember following Ian McGowan at one stage. You cannot overtake around this place. So these are bigger, wider, bulkier GT3 cars, especially with a Nissan and a Bentley. And the M4 and the Mercedes is a pretty hefty car. It's just going to be so hard to overtake as Jamie now returns into the pit lane. And all the drivers are actually in the pit lane. Nobody's out there for a lap. But this man here, what will be going through his mind at the moment? He can win the championship tonight. It is all down to this race one. The problem is, or should I say he could win the championship, he will win the championship tonight. There is no Dennis Hansen tonight, so it's looking pretty good as Ellie makes a return tonight. She's just heading out onto the circuit now, looking to try and get one more final flying lap in, maybe a quali run here. But at the moment, it looks like it will go the way of Richie Michelle. Disaster with him scoring no points would only be keeping Dennis Hansen in it, and I don't even think that will keep him in it at the moment. 226 points are left to be scored in this championship. 426 if you are in the constructors. I believe we have got Dan Davis now in the box. Dan, Oulton Park, obviously a decent night's worth of racing that you brought us last night. It's going to provide an even trickier action tonight, isn't it, with these bigger, wider, bulkier cars?
Wow, this is the British version of Monaco, isn't it? Let's be honest, there's definitely no chance that we'll be seeing a lot of overtaking tonight unless it is done brilliantly. But yeah, GT4 action was, considering the track is tight, twisty, and not a lot of opportunities to overtake, it definitely brought some great action. And sadly, I do think these GT3s are really going to struggle around here. They're going to end up following each other like a train. And yeah, not a train they would like to be on, let's put it that way. But nonetheless, it should be an interesting night, and I think the real key tonight, Mathew, is track limits. That's the key tonight. How many people are going to abuse those track limits?
Yeah, and we go from one place of COTA, don't we, where track limits was pretty much everywhere. You're looking at turn 1, maybe the outside of Cascades. I noticed 1 or 2 drivers pick one up last night through there, as Ali just practicing that pit entry. Crucial to get some testing in on that, because there is a barrier you saw just stick out slightly. But it is really the exit of turn 1, isn't it, that is going to really punish drivers. And you don't have to go over it much, do you? You can have 2 wheels on the track where it will come up with a track limit warning. And you're right, I think Gary got a drive through last night. I don't think of many others that got one. But with these more powerful cars, as the grid order is actually glitched and is completely randomised. So that is brilliant. This is not the grid order it is meant to be at all. So wow, 20th place should be Richie Michelle. He's 21st. DJ Phil should be 7th. I don't even know where DJ Phil is.
DJ Phil isn't even in.
He's 17th. He's 17th. So he's 10 places down on where he's meant to be. So, yeah, not sure what has happened here, but the grid order is set correctly. And, well, it hasn't happened tonight. It has just given us a random grid. And there's not a lot we're able to do about it for the time being. We'll have to leave it with this random grid for this first race. We do apologise about that, but I am just going through the G portal as I talk to you now, and
30 seconds.
Everything is correct, but nobody is in the correct position.
20 seconds.
Good old technology. What do we do about it? just ridiculous. That's just hilarious. But that is what we got, and I'm afraid it is what we're going to have to run. We are on a bit of a tight schedule here anyway, so we'll just have to a go with it, I'm afraid. But yeah, this should be an interesting one. At least the championship leader's at the back of the pack, let's put it that way.
Well, he's definitely at the back of the pack now because he's returned to the pit lane. And I'm also noticing that two of the drivers...
A lot of drivers have returned to the pit lane.
Well, Mirko Ricci is on a race 1 ban. Lando Norris hasn't moved. He should have also returned to the pits. And Jamie has started, and he should have been in the pits because he also has a race 1 ban.
So I'm not quite
sure.
Then.
Yeah, and I'm just still going through. I've got Mike typing on the Discord at the moment, but Jamie shouldn't have started this race. We've got Richie Michelle in the pits. We've got Mirko Ricci, who should be there. DJ Phil, he's not been readying up recently, and I don't know why. But Jamie started when shouldn't have. Lando Norris has started when shouldn't have. In fact, no, he's just sat on the grid. But everybody else has gone to start this race. Lando Norris has now entered into the pit lane as he should have done. But Jamie, at the minute, starting this race when he shouldn't be.
Well, that'll be duly noted then, and the stewards will be looking at this one.
Yeah, well, we've got to make do with the grid order as it is. Everything is set right on the G portal, and I have just gone through everybody's name, and everything is set right. And what this will be, because I can only assume is because we haven't got Darren Bell, we haven't got Andrew Taylor, and we haven't got Casper Olin. Them three have missed, and what it looks like it's done, Dan, is it looks like it's put them in the order they've joined the lobby. So, not a good start for everybody there, but not a lot can be done about it. We'll have to wait to see what happens. But Gary Clarwell is going to start on pole position for what is going to now be a random grid race. And, yeah, I'm just checking that I did tag Jamie in the post, say he had a race ban. Yep, he was tagged and hasn't got done it as well. Mike's saying that the entry list isn't low. So just discussing the admin chat on what should happen here. But yeah, at the minute, Dan, what car would you say? Obviously, we're looking at the BOP, and it looks like the Lamborghini's the most bopped around here. But if you was driving one of these cars out here tonight, what would you say is probably going to be favoured for this circuit?
Possibly the Porsche looks decent around here. The Lamborghini should favour this circuit as well. Possibly the M4 as well. Seems to be able to run the curves and abuse the curves as well. Possibly the Mercedes, but maybe the McLaren as well. Anything that's able to run curves and be good on downforce as well. But anything with a straight line advantage may struggle, and yeah, it's all about traction and grip really. So I think the Lamborghini and the Porsche should be the favoured ones.
Porsche and Lamborghini should be the favoured ones. We are crossing the line now, and hopefully we are going to get underway in this race. There is a discussion in the admin chat, but it is green and go for the time being. We'll see if there is a reset. We're down the start straight we go. Then Gary Clarwell heads in towards turn 1 as your current race leader. We go to the helicopter cam, all pretty fine just behind then as they all come through turn 1. Jamie did take to the start of this race when shouldn't have, so he's going to be looking, like Dan says, at a steward's penalty and a stop-go penalty for number 4. That is for Lando Norris, who has started the race from the pits when shouldn't be starting at all. So Dan, already here, two of the drivers just not listening to the grid or to the steward's instructions.
No, not at all, and they've opted to choose to go racing instead, and yeah, obviously this is going to hurt them even more. But as we get going here at Oulton Park, we go through the tight, twisty sections. Into the middle sector we go, and it is Gary Clarwell leading the way from Paul Williams, from Robert Smith, from Michael, Robert Ramsell, Stephen Beck and Mathew Hicks, as it all gets quite congested in the middle part of the lap. And Luke Saunders has gone off, and that's going to allow Graham Sam and I was going to say player man, but he's not there. It is John Goudet who's going to work his way up the order.
Okay, so just to let you know that we are lowering quali and free practice 2 by 5 minutes. Mike is wanting a server reset, so we have lowered quali and free practice 2 by 5 minutes, and we will get a reset. So we'll be back with you in a couple of moments' time. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Apologies for that little mishap there. We are now back live and ready to go for the start of this race then, and it is Mathew Hicks who is in that pole seat. The cars will be doing their formation lap and we will be about to get underway. As Skunky says, what could happen now the restart's been? It was a pretty clean getaway from everybody
20 seconds.
in this first race. Now, what will probably happen is if the three drivers do the first race, disqualifications will possibly be given to them for that race and possibly then race bans for the week after. So we'll keep our eyes on them drivers and make sure that everybody does return to the pit who should. Hopefully everybody takes to the start as normal. As you can see, Lando Norris and Jamie are at the back of the pack. We don't actually have Mirko Ricci in the lobby, so even if he was to join, he has to stay in the pits. That's fine that he's not there, but once again, we're sat watching the cars go off of the line, and there's two cars on the grid who are still sat there and are still getting ready to go. And would you look, Jamie pulls away and Lando Norris pull away. Well, if they start this race and finish this race, that will not go down well with the stewards. But Mathew Hicks will lead them away. There's Graham Sutcliffe. That's the only send that you'll expect him to do tonight on the formation lap as he powers past Mathew Hicks and sends it up the inside into... I can't even remember turn two's corner name now. But yeah, Dan, we're not expecting many of them send it. So here he goes again. Look, he's just practicing what he used to do.
He's just getting himself a car between himself and his rival tonight. Who's going to be the best placed pinked car? That's his goal is tonight. Yeah, so Zloty Apex making sure he doesn't do what happened to Monkey Boy last time out at Kota. But either way, Mathew Hicks on the front row for BMW. It's definitely going to be an interesting start. We've got a few multiple different cars. The top five are 5 different cars. We sadly also then have a Ferrari involved in it, but there is a Porsche as well, Player Man. So it's going to be interesting to see how these cars pan out.
Sorry, Sutty nearly lost it on the curb as he's whooping his brakes up. I can't help it. You just know with Sutty that with Graham that anything could and will probably happen. But like Dan says, 5 manufacturers in that top half. Cranky Duckhead looked like he was struggling in the Honda though in practice around here, so we'll see what pace he's got in the race. The problem with this track and the thing you probably saw last night watching the GT4s is that it was very easy to just kind of park the car in the middle of the road and defend that line, and you had to wait for others to make a mistake. As Dan said earlier, it's the Monaco of circuits around here, so this is going to be very interesting to see what happens at this circuit. What obviously used to be the season opener for the British GT, it will no longer be next year. It will go to Donington Park for the season opener, but the season opener normally for the British GT in a track, believe it or not, this and Snetterton, that Valentino Rossi have turned around and says I'd love to race on. So clearly the guy has no taste in decent circuits, but that is what it is. We're here. We're ready for this race. It is round 21 of the championship. It is race 1 of the evening. And we are about to get underway. What will happen tonight in this one?
Obviously, you're referencing saying that Rossi would love to come here and race it. That just gives me the same vision of me just loving the idea of going to Pizza Hut and trying Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, why? You're better off going Domino's.
100%. 100%. I'd even go as far as a Papa John's, to be brutally honest. But hey, that's just my taste. But we are green and go here for round 21 of the season, and Mathew Hicks gets a really good start. So does Michael in that Nissan. He gets himself alongside Ellie as Ellie comes back up the inside. They come through Lodge Corner, a bit of a love tap between the two. And Graham takes the lead round the outside of turn 1, puts a core between himself and that of Mathew Hicks as Jamie now returns to the pit lane. And now Graham leads from Mathew Hicks. And he's off! He's off on the exiting cascade! He's in the wall! Michael, there is then Cranky Duckhead. We can't see what's happening here. Oh, carnage! Oh. Millington's just been ploughed into the side of Graham. There's Playerman now with DJ Philliff. Playerman, and that is Sam in the wall as well. So it's all going off here. And there's a few cars that's made a good start, but Mathew Hicks leads this race from Ellie with Michael in third with Then it is not the Cranky Duckhead, it's Robert Ramsell from Cranky Duckhead. Then it is Gary Clauble. Luke Saunders is just behind him with John Gooday. And Graham, where is Graham? He's just not got going yet. He's between the rock and a hard place, or the barrier and the track. And on he comes, big damage to the car. And who is that with him? That is Steve Beck as well. So not the start they'd have wanted to this race. And Graham got it, what he needed to do done early.
What, in the wall? Yeah.
Well, in the lead.
Instead, it's going to be between Mathew Hicks and Ellie, and Michael sitting in that third place position, and then it's Robert Ramsell. Gary Clauble then a little bit off the guys here then, as the rest of the pack all then start to work their way. Richie Michelle from the back of the pack already to 10th after already the chaos that had been happening. And yeah, as they all work their way through the final few sectors here, and Richie Michelle slowly picking off one by one as he goes along.
He is indeed, and Robert Smith now gets a good run on Paul Williams as they come through Deal Heap and down towards Lodge again for the second time in this race. In towards Old Hall Corner, and in towards Old Hall they come. Robert Smith takes another place, bit of a twitch there for Player Man on at the back of the pack. Pit window doesn't open just yet, but I assume Sutty's going to try and go into this. Ellie's now attacking the race leader of Mathew Hicks, but through then that of the Island Bend they go, and no can do at the moment. Steve Millington has had to go into the pit lane. Through the shallow oils hairpin they come, and Ellie has Michael right behind her and is in the sandwich of the two big, bulkiest cars on the grid, the Nissan and the BMW. She's a lot better than Mathew Hicks on the brakes. Can't do anything there. Down to Luke Saunders though. He's on the back of Cranky Duckhead. A bit of a train forming here behind the Cranky Duckhead. That has got then John Gooday and Richie Michelle and Robert Smith, Paul Williams, Player Man and Old Sim Racer all there. There's Rob Smith and Lando Norris, who's not meant to be at this race. DJ Phil is then up into 15th. Then it is Sam, Steve Beck, Steve Millington and Graham both did pit, and we do have Mirko Ricci in the lobby now, but Ellie really on the attack here down on the back of Mathew Hicks as they come up towards Druids.
Yeah, but all Mathew Hicks has to do is plant that car in the middle of the circuit, and there's no way through unless he makes a big major mistake. But all he has to do is keep that car in the middle of the track, and if anything, Ellie's coming under pressure from the GTR, and Michael, as they head towards the penultimate corner, Mathew Hicks makes the corner, but still Ellie can't do anything about it at this stage, and Michael is right behind them. And
it becomes a four-way fight now, Dan, as well, because Robert Ramsell is on the back of them, and here comes Ellie having a look in towards Old Hall once again. Can't do nothing about it, and that's the problem with this circuit. Is all about looking, but you've got to wait for that driver in front to make a mistake. It is all about the undercut, or maybe going long to get the overcut here tonight, as this four-way fight is going to continue. Gary Clauble with clear air sets the fastest lap of the race. John Gooday, in fact, Robert Smith has made his way up into P7.
Robert Ramsell, sorry Matt, but Robert Ramsell was really quick and aggressive on Michael there, and looked like he was going to take him into Island Bend, but sorry, that was just intense there, because it's really getting close to the top four at the minute, as Mathew Hicks has got 16 minutes still to defend from Ellie and a pit stop. So this is going to be a long race, and Gary Clauble's pretty much caught them back up.
Just looking down the order, it is Cranky Duckhead who's gone off somewhere, and Robert Smith's capitalised with Luke Saunders to get past. Robert Smith's also cleared John Gooday and Richie Michelle in that fight, so not sure what happened there, but that four-way dance slowly becoming a five-way here, because Gary Clauble's not far off the back. Down towards John Gooday, he's now the train, he's missed the chicane, he's got damage on the front of his car. Richie Michelle will go through, as will Paul Williams, and John now can rejoin as carefully as he does behind Paul Williams. Loses out 2 places there, but look at that, the top 3 now, because what's happened to Robert Ramsell? He's lost out to Clauble.
Yeah, Clauble's already done him. I think Ramsell probably went a little bit wide at Knickerbrook, and that's where the bumps can get a little bit sketchy there, and the Porsche capitalising on that one. But they're both very twitchy on the exit of the final corner of Lodge Corner. But Robert Ramsell now looking to try and attack Old Horn Corner, but he can't quite get far enough alongside. But it is now pit window time, and Mathew Hicks under immense pressure here from Ellie and Michael. Michael's really pushing the top 2 now.
Michael is pushing the top 2, and Robert Ramsell and Gary Clauble looking very racy as John Gooday and Lando Norris come straight into the pit lane. I'm not be surprised if we see a few others. Sam's carried on his way. Cranky Duckhead looks like he's coming in, and yes, he does. Steve Millington is now in. Graham, I assume, will pit once again just to get his pit stop out the way. But the top 3 here, this is a great little fight. Good defending here from Mathew Hicks, as we've got Hooks in the chat saying, come on, Hicksy, and he almost spilt his Weetabix. And then L7, or I believe is Patrick Ledger, saying, come on, Ellie, beat those guys in the chat. And once again, Clawball and Ramsell just getting that little bit closer, dropping back to Robert Smith. He's got
Hicks
ahead of Luke
pressure.
Saunders, and Luke Saunders coming under pressure from Richie Michel. But as Dan said, Hicks coming under pressure.
Yeah, he just had a bad run out of the first chicane, came up to the second chicane, and Ellie couldn't do anything with the Ferrari power. She's a little bit loose going through Knickerbrook there, as the Nissan GTR once again gets onto terms, and the Porsches now join the party. The top four is really hotting up here, and I'm not going to take my eyes far away from this fight and keep you up to date with what's happening, but at the minute, Ellie's just lost a little bit of time as the GTR now comes under attack.
I'm just going to drop back to that of Richie Michel, who's on the back of Luke Saunders. He has started to push. Obviously, he started this race. As long as he gets to three-quarter distance, he will be champion. Sam is trying to get on the back of DJ Phil and out the pit lane. Cranky Duckhead close to the back of Steve Becks. Ignore Jamie and Michael Ritchie in the pits. They have them race bands. Robert Ramsell. Yeah, just saw in the background that he's jumped in. That undercut, Dan, could be absolutely vital in this fight here.
It could be genius right now, because Mathew Hicks is the cork in the bottle and holding everyone up. Even old Sim Racer goes quicker, and I do have to mention quickly the GoFundMe that I posted last night wasn't old Sim Racer, it was Rob Smith, and I apologise to both of them because I completely messed it up.
Michael there, very defensive into the left-hand. Kincan, I think he's lost it on the grass. He is, he's sideways on the grass, and there's a wall, and bang into the wall. Did he just clip Gary Clawball? I'm not sure, but Gary Clawball's lost a lot of momentum as well now. He went very defensive onto the island bend, and for Michael in the Nissan, huge damage to that car, and he's going to lose out massive, but that's put the top two to run away. That'll definitely be a jump then, as Ellie's now coming alongside. It's a drag race. They just lean on each other slightly as they come down towards the Hislop chicanes. Mathew Hicks has the inside line, has to cut the first part of the chicane and stays in the lead.
Robert Ramsell, meanwhile, drops into clean air, complete clean air. So he has got no one in his way, and he can focus on getting those lap times. Meanwhile, Michael is returned back to the pits after, I think he has returned to the pits.
Yeah.
After major damage to his car. So he's returned back to pit lane, but Ellie and Michael Hicks right now are going to be losing time, hand over fist to Robert Ramsell, who's possibly come up with the brilliant strategy here to win this race.
He possibly has. Is he going to leave it as late as he dares to come into the pit lane? I'm surprised Ellie's possibly not come in for that undercut. But Gary Clawball, then what damage will he have? Maybe off that clip at the moment. Fraser O'Brien in the chat saying, come on Hicks. And Patrick Ledger saying, Oulton Park strikes again. Indeed it does, as Michael's returned to the pit lane. Then Graham trying to pick up places as he's a couple of laps down. He has got to pit once again, though, due to that damage that he sustained early in the race. This is the closest fight on the track at the moment. This is on board with Ellie. And if we go on to Michael Hicks, we can just see from the rear view of his car how stable that BMW is looking at the moment. Pretty decent, to be fair, from Hicks. And like Dan says, all he's got to do is just stay in the middle of the road, and that is what he's doing here, and that is the perfect strategy. Richie Michel, by the way, pitted as well. He's down in 10th place, 2 seconds off the back of Robert Ramsell. That could help him jump Gary Clawball after Clawball's incident with Michael.
Yeah, definitely. As meanwhile, Ellie's had a little bit of a moment through the second chicane and has dropped a little bit of time to Mathew Hicks. And like I said, no real other fights going on at the minute, bar the top two, and soon to be possibly the top three, because Gary Clawball is coming back. If I was Clawball, I'd really start to think about pitting early here and getting that clean air.
Yeah, I'd be looking at that undercut. What are we? 5 minutes 44 left of the pit window. Obviously in this first race, as Michael's still in the pits, Graham's now back into the pit lane. That'll be to do his mandatory stop, and it's the top 8 and Graham who haven't done that stop yet. And Michael actually is going to have to come out the pits and go back round to do his stop. Stephen Beck is trying to gain onto the rear of Playerman, but this is Ellie attacking the back then of that of Mathew Hicks. And is Ellie going to come into the pit lane? Yes, she is, as now we drop down to Playerman and Steve Beck at the moment. Did Gary Clawball pit down at the front, or did he keep going? He's kept going.
He kept going, yeah, he kept going. Now the question is, obviously Ellie's coming to the pits. Where does Robert Ramsell fit in all this? He's caught DJ Phil, so it's clean air has just come to an end, sadly, and the other thing is he's going to have to race DJ Phil. DJ Phil defends the inside, and Robert Ramsell goes around the outside. Job done there as they head up towards the next couple of sequence of corners with DJ Phil pissed. Ellie has gone green and is off the limiter, so Robert Ramsell's strategy hasn't worked. Wow. He's still behind Ellie.
So the overcut there, a good one, and Robert Ramsell's had clean air. Old Sim Racers running up into P4 now. Rob Smith, has he pitted? I don't think he has. He stays ahead of Luke Saunders. Luke Saunders comes out the pits And he was in that fight, don't forget, with Richie Michelle. Richie Michelle's cleared him and is long gone. Paul Williams didn't clear Luke Saunders. But for Mathew Hicks now,
he needs to pit now.
I think so, yeah, just to keep ahead of that of Robert Ramsell at the moment, because Ellie's done a good job. He now needs to do it.
Yeah, I think as long as he nails his stop and gets in and out quickly and stays ahead of Ellie, then, you know, he just needs to respond now. The one to keep an eye on as well is Robert Smith, who's slowly but surely creeping onto these two in the front. He's only 2.4 off the back of Gary Clarville. Gary Clarville not been able to do anything since he's got into clean air. Maybe the damage on the front end and on the side of his car is just affecting him ever so slightly. But Robert Smith wants to keep an eye on. Old Sim Racer got quite a good bit of pace as well, but he's dropped right off the back of the leading group.
Mathew Hicks straight in.
Hicks is in.
Yep, Gary Clarville stays out on the track. Robert Smith is also going to come into the pits. Ellie's now on the back of Rob Smith, as Rob Smith goes a little wide on the exit of Druid. So Ellie's clean air has now been extinguished, and she's now going to be held up by Rob Smith, who can get at least another lap, maybe two at a push in this race, probably just the one, as he now enters the pit lane. So that'll help Ellie. Mathew Hicks has now been green and he's dropped, but Ellie is already through, and that is exactly what she wanted. Robert Ramsell will also get past, and in Ellie's third race at SimPlay, she could be 3 from 3, 100% record in terms of race wins at the moment. Race isn't over yet, but Mathew Hicks there comes out on the back of Richie Michelle and also just ahead of Robert Smith. So Robert Smith has massively closed that gap up. You feel for Gary Clarville that he could also be off the podium here, Dan.
Yeah, I think possibly that Mathew Hicks has got a little bit tentative going in the pit lane. I watched him enter and he was just a little bit cautious, obviously trying to make sure he gets stopped and doesn't get a penalty, but maybe that's his downfall there.
We'll keep an eye on that as this goes along. It's still a good result for him up in P6 at the moment, and it is Gary Clarville and Old Sim Racer who are yet to pit. As up Clay Hill comes Gary Clarville once again. Closest action on track is second between Luke Saunders and Sam, but it's Mathew Hicks actually who has got that of Robert Smith close to the back of him at the moment. And this is going to be interesting now, because Richie Michelle just needs to finish this race really to score points to be the champion in Pro-Am, but he'll want to win every race he possibly can from here now to the season end. And Mathew Hicks, decent start to his race, but he's been under pressure every step of the way so far, as Gary Clarville sorts lap 8, so doesn't pit. He's got enough for one more lap. Old Sim Racer, what is he going to do? Does he come round? He does. He sorts his next lap. So they both don't pit at the moment, and just trying to extend that gap ever so slightly. Problem for Gary Clarville, if he's expecting a bit of traffic, he's not going to find any. They are all at Britain's chicane, the first of the two chicanes at the moment. And this is the fight between the two BMWs and Mathew Hicks and Robert Smith. Dan, and Robert Smith, good pace in practice. He'll want to get through as quick as he can.
Yeah, he will indeed, and he's on the back of the fellow BMW driver, and once again Mathew Hicks running a little bit sketchy through turn 1. That's going to give the other BMW driver a look up the inside. He's thinking about it, but he's not quite close enough, and it's really tricky to get the job done here, as Robert Ramsell is now going to start becoming a little bit of pressure from Richie Michelle as they work their way through the left-hander. Richie Michelle just testing the limits on the right-hand side, pushing as hard as he can as he went through Island Bend and then through Sheehan Old's corner, but yeah, it's tight between these two at the minute, and Robert Smith would love to get onto the back of these guys. It's such a shame that Robert Smith had a mixed season this season, because he looked so good at Bathurst, had the strategy in hand, looked competitive, and ever since then really it's kind of gone downhill. Kind
of the hurricane weather of Florida kind of distracted his season, didn't he? And it's kind of unravelled since when he had to miss a couple of races with all the hurricanes happening in Florida. John Gooday's on the back of Rob Smith down the order, and you speak that little left hand.
Fastest lap.
She has indeed. You speak that left hand kink down of the island corner. Very easy to understeer wide onto the grass, and the minute you hit that grass, it is very hard to catch the car and not put it in that wall. You've really got to be careful, haven't you, through Island Bend?
Yeah, definitely so. I mean, you have no grip on the grass. You're just gonna think of it as aquaplaning just straight off. And I'm watching currently Robert Ramsell and Richie Michelle both hanging sideways as they go through the final corner, but you want to avoid touching the grass at all costs. And Gary Clarville's come back out quite behind Robert Ramsell here, so the overcut did work. Ellie just nailed the stop, I think.
Yeah, I think Ellie's nailed the stop. Gary Clarville just hasn't had the pace since that damage on his car, and as you can see there, Ellie's actually caught traffic of that of Graham, who had that earlier moment in the wall. And The two pink cars, not teammates, but they are flying high. They've even got green on the car as well to match each other, so that's nice to see. But Graham is going to have to get out of the way. Probably do so over the top of the hill as he breaks into the chicane. The big Bentley bouncing over the curbs, and he takes to the grass to let Ellie through and lap him. And yes, we caught that on stream, Graham. The car that eats curbs struggled over a curb.
I look forward to tomorrow night now, seeing that the Bentley struggle with it. My Lexus is loving them, to be fair.
There we go, the difference in cars. So Gary Clobble has split then Richie Michelle and Robert Ramsell, and he's ahead of Mathew Hicks and Robert Smith. So he split them kind of duo battles as the tyre wall gets an extra whack out the way. But Gary Clobble didn't look like he repaired his damage. Just going to drop down to Paul Williams, who had some pace in practice. He's gaining on the old sim racer. And where's John Goodey? Can't remember who he was attacking.
11.
He's behind Sam, so he's
Sam's
dropped.
got damage to the front of his car.
Yeah, John's dropped off whoever he was attacking. But Luke Saunders, I think, has also dropped down the order a little bit as well, so not sure what's happened there. Michael is back out on track, so great to see him finishing this race. But Richie Michelle still attacking the back of Robert Ramsell on the podium, and Mathew Hicks under pressure. So I tell you what, I have to tip my hat to Mathew Hicks. The pit stops let him down here today, and Ellie's nailed hers. He was a bit tentative on entry, but his defensive drive has been so good. And I think you said this about Kelly last night in the GT4s. Round here, it's your mistakes that cost you places. Mathew Hicks is doing everything right.
Exactly that. There's no real place to overtake it around here, and the bumps and the tight corners, not very wide, just shows that it's not really easy to overtake around here. You're not going to get many overtakes at all. I don't know how we could record it, but we could count possibly how many times they did actually overtake around here. And so far, no real overtakes has been done on track. It's all been done through the pit lane.
Yeah, pretty much. Or drivers running wide by making their own mistakes, hasn't it? And that's when the errors have been, and like we said, it's the Monaco of the normal circuits. It's our version of Monaco on this game, as Richie Michelle has a look up the inside at the Hislop chicane and can't get it done there. And Ellie 6.3 seconds up the road at the moment, so disappearing. Remember, season ends next week at Donington Park, the home of SimPlay Motorsport and the SimPlay Straight, what used to be known as the Dunlop Straight, with the big Dunlop bridge in the background. Rob Smith on the back of DJ Phil. John Goodey was fighting Rob Smith, I do believe, so he's ended up behind DJ Phil now, and Rob Smith going to try and get past his Ferrari compatriot. Cranky Duckhead is back into the pit lane, and Jamie has just left the lobby, so hopefully Jamie brings himself back in for race 2, obviously the race that he can take place in.
Richie Michelle did momentarily pass Robert Ramsell, sorry. He went deep into the final corner, and then Ramsell just came back underneath him. Richie Michelle gave him a flash to the lights, but I'm not sure why, because it was Michelle's fault for going deep. So, don't know, maybe a flash of, I don't know, close hard racing maybe, but yeah, I didn't get that.
Interesting, we'll keep our eyes on that now. Mathew Hicks has actually pulled a little gap over Robert Smith. Is actually close up to the back of Gary Clobble. Understeering so wide there. Thought he was going to go off and managed to hold it all together, but yeah, interesting at the moment. 9 seconds is that gap out front, and not many fights happening out there on the circuit. Steve Millington has passed out of the Cranky Duckhead. Graham, I believe, is now on the same lap as Cranky Duckhead, but will not overtake him unless Cranky stays in that pit lane for a little bit longer. We are heading, this is in fact the final lap of the race. I don't think Ellie's going to get one more in. She might actually, to be fair. 53 seconds from here, there's not a lot left in this lap to do. So around the final corner she comes, and is this going to be the end? No, I think there's going to be one more to go. So we'll go back to that Robert Ramsell fight, who's now got the lapped car of Graham in the way. So Graham, I assume, he's not yet being blue flagged actually. There it is, there's his first blue flag. Ellie up and over Deer Leap, she's going to start the final lap of the race. But Graham being blue flagged now.
He is indeed. Graham's going to have to step to one side after a great start in that mini race that we had. He's having to get out of the race in this, out of the way of this one, and he moves to the side and allows Richie Michelle through as well. They got very close as he turned in. Oh, and Graham's gone round.
He's gone round again. He has his moments, doesn't he? Does Graham there? Moser R9 or CSL DD8 Newton meters. I'd probably say Moser over the Fanatec CSL DD8 if I'm going to be brutally honest with you, buddy. That's what I'd probably go for.
Logitech G29 all the way.
Right, Gary Clobble is under some massive pressure on this last lap from that of Mathew Hicks and Robert Smith now, but overtaking very difficult round here. Graham does gain another place, and as Ellie down towards Hislop chicane. Robert Ramsell trying to hang on in there.
DJ Phil is off.
Oh, he's got big damage there as well, so he's had a moment somewhere and he's staying on the grass while the leaders come through. I assume he's going to take to the track in a moment, but is still stationary, like you say. And in fact, he's probably going to cut the chicane with the looks of it now. This could cause a little bit more trouble than what he's, I think, intending on doing
here. Into large corner.
Yeah, she is into large for the final time and down through Deer Leap, and it's going to be 3 races, 3 race wins for Ellie here, as well as another fastest lap in this race. Great start to the night for Ellie. Fantastic way to start your race. Come from 3rd on the grid, and that is a great race win. Robert Ramsell is going to come through for 2nd place, with Richie Michelle, your Pro-Am champion, taking 3rd, and the championship. Gary Corbell will be P4, just ahead of Mathew Hicks and Robert Smith. Great fight between them. Old Sim Racer is P7 in this race, so he will finish there. Paul Williams P8. Lando Norris probably going to be disqualified from that race result. P9 for the time being, though. Sam is in P10. As he's got damage on that car, and through he comes. Don't think he repaired the damage from his earlier incident in race 1. Steve Millington has finished 16th. Graham has finished 18th. John Gooday with some more damage to his car. And there's a fight behind John Gooday, actually, between that of Steve Beck and Rob Smith. There's DJ Phil, who's off, and Steve Beck's in the wall, and Rob Smith's off with him. So not sure what's happened there, but John Gooday will finish P11. Steve Beck trying to recover into P12. Where's Luke Saunders in all of this? He's coming as Rob Smith, I think, has hit Steve Beck and is letting Steve Beck finish in front. Luke Saunders is right there. So this could be a fight for that final place, and I think Luke Saunders is going to take it because he's got the momentum. Comes right around the outside. Luke Saunders will take 14th place from Steve Beck, who finishes 13th. Rob Smith refused to pass him due to making contact there. Playerman is P15 in this one.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I just read the chat. Oh, Sutty.
Oh dear. Good evening to Alpin in the chat as well. Playerman P15, and that then is race 1. Stick around for race 2 in just a few moments' time. And ladies and gentlemen, to SimPlay Motorsport here for the second race of the evening. It's qualifying first, though, for the drivers to take to the track and set the fastest lap times in the session possible. Championship is done with 170 points left up for grabs. Richie Michel now has won the championship. Very well done to him. He becomes the latest champion at SimPlay Motorsport in the Pro-Am category. His team, though, can win the Constructors this second race and probably will, because of the fact that the Dane Train team are not here. They are also under threat of Stage 2 Motorsport taking their next spot in this session at the moment. Then, as we can see that Richie Michel leads from Dennis Hansen. Old Sim Racer still third. Robert Smith gaining on him a little bit, though. Justin Winter not here tonight's P5 with Steve Beck closing the gap on him. Not a lot really in P6. John Gooday still 7th from Gary Clarble, who catches him a lot. Stephen Millington P9 ahead of Paul Williams in 10th. Then it's Sam, Lando, Norris, but obviously points could be taken away from Lando, boosting other drivers' prospects in this championship due to that first race infringement. Luke Saunders is 13th with Robert Ramsell. Good result for him to put him up into P14. Mirko Ritchie is P15. Casper Olin, Playerman, Brian Craig, Monkey Boy, Francisco, Rob Smith, Kieran Argent, DJ Phil, and then it's Cranky Duckhead, Michael, Ellie, Jamie, Darren Bell, The Jackal, Graham Hicks, and Best, Dean Vigus, Lucas, and Dean Wasocki down the bottom of the order. Now, Lando Norris has a quali ban, Playerman has a quali ban, and Mirko Ritchie has a quali ban. Playerman is in the pits, Lando is in the pits, and Mirko Ritchie is also in the pits. If Jamie comes back, he also has to serve that qualifying ban due to penalty points occurred this season. And this is where the season has moved on to the rules that was brought in this year, Dan. People wanted harsher rules and harsher penalties for repeat offenders. We're at that stage of the season where they've accumulated their points. Repeat offences have come in, so penalties have doubled or got harsher as the season's gone on. And this is why we're only now really just seeing these penalty points come into play.
Yeah, definitely so, and it's definitely a system that we've really had to really look into, and I know some of the drivers feel like they've probably been hard done by, but at the end of the day, regarding footages and images and stuff like that that's not been provided by some drivers, or even arguments with the stewards, has led to this situation. And at the end of the day, we've got to clamp down on it. We want to try and make this as clean a league as we possibly can, so people can come and drive here without worrying about making contact with other drivers, and just go wheel to wheel as best they possibly can. So, and this is the precautions we have to take, and until people learn and we can all get racing hard, then we won't see much change. But for a minute, this is the best result we have, and fingers crossed that drivers will start to get it into their heads and realise that it's not all about just pushing and shoving and working their way through and just getting what they want.
Indeed so. So Robert Smith currently starts his qualifying. He's P3. Who's coming around the final couple of corners now? We'll go on to the car 12. That will be Graham, who is trying to complete a lap in that Bentley then. Down in P7 at the moment. Takes it to the final corner. Possibly has just invalidated a little bit there as he ran over the curb quite hard. To the line he comes and did invalidate his time. So we'll next check on the car 88, who's coming around the final couple of bends. That is Mathew Hicks. Great first race for Mathew Hicks in this one. Comes to line on an invalidated lap. Let's take a look at car number 8, John Gooday, who's not qualified great this season. Struggles to get them early laps on the bag, Dan. And due to these server problems today, we've had to cut qualifying 5 minutes short, so needs to really get a banker in straight away.
This circuit in general is about just getting a banker in, not just in the first couple of minutes. If you get a banker in under your belt, then you can kind of work from there. The track limits is going to be key as Ellie crosses line and does a 33.8, so she sets now the benchmark for the rest to go after, and we'll see what they can do. And a poll is currently going out for who you think is going to take pole position here in this qualifying session. But yeah, it's all about just nailing a lap around here. If you can get a decent lap around you and get it under your belt, then you can build the confidence and push a little bit harder later on. Yeah,
indeed you can. Robert Smith goes within 2/10. We're watching Paul Williams come out through Deer Leap and around that final little bend and towards the line he comes, moves himself up into third place. Couple of tenths off of the pole. Michael, it says he's on an invalid lap time, but we'll just check it out either way. Before we look at Robert Ramsell, Michael does not improve. Robert Ramsell now 7/10 off the pole. P2 for this man in that first race, so it's a good display from him, and up through D-Elite he comes once again, and to the line he comes. Graham, I think, has just invalidated his time, and Robert Ramsell, no improvement for him. Here comes Graham to that line, 10th place, still doesn't set a lap time. The 181 now, that of Gary Clauble to the line. He goes up into 9th place before Mathew Hicks just behind him moves up into P5. The 63 is now coming across the line before the number 96 then of Sam at the moment. And the 63 of Oulton Racer goes P4. Here comes Sam, 13th at the moment. Can he improve his time? He goes up into P12. What about Ellie? Can she improve on her second flying lap? Good banker from her already in the bag. And is she going to improve even more? She does. She finds 2 more tenths to 33.7.
Yeah, now everyone's starting to get into a little bit of a rhythm. Time will start to improve. Confidence will start to build. The tyres will then start to wear a little bit on these old sets, but nonetheless they'll start to go back into the pits, get a new set of tyres put on board, and then go again for the next run. But everyone's starting to get a little bit more confident and trying, like I said, the ones especially that have got bankers are definitely the ones that are going to feel a bit more comfortable in this one.
And the thing as well, Dan, is with that shorter qualifying, what does that mean for the drivers? Are they more inclined to go back to the pits as Richie Michelle goes into P3? Are they more inclined to go back to the pits to put on a fresh set of boots, or what would you be doing with that 5 minutes less now?
You'd always have a plan going into qualifying. Whether it's 5 minutes less or 5 minutes more, you'd always have a plan going into it. A lot of drivers would have a kind of run system that they would want. Some people just fuel the car up and just go around constantly and just be on track for the entire time, be there for the track evolution. Or others like to split it in half. So even if you know if it's a 10-minute qualifying session, you're more likely going to go in. A short circuit like this as well, it's going to aid you in seeing where people are and what the time's doing as well. In my mind, I always like to just, everyone bundles out of the track at once. I tend to wait and allow the space to be open. Yes, you need to get out on track. Yes, you need to get the lap time on the board. But you can't do that when you're tripping over other cars. So yeah, for me, a clean, clear track is always king, and especially on a circuit like this.
Ellie, 32.9. There we go. There's a bit of pace for you. 32.9. That is a stonking lap from Ellie there in qualifying. There is a car off in front for Old Sim Racer, looks off, as well as the 63 of... in fact, that is Old Sim Racer through his Corsa 63. The 96 gone back to the pits. That was Sam. Next car on lap, is that the 59, is that saying? I'm not quite sure. I think it is, of Steve Millington. Not seen the best of Millington so far in this Pro-Am race today. But to the line he's going to come with a minute 54 left of qualifying, and to the line he goes. Stays P8 at the moment. We're going to look at the 180 of Paul Williams. Good qualifying at the minute for Paul Williams, up in P4. He's had a pretty good lap.
Yeah, another strong weekend for him in the McLaren. He's looking quite comfortable around here, trying to take it to the guys to the front of the pack. But that lap time there for Melly, that is just that's pro pace. Yeah, ridiculous.
Lando Norris, obviously on the quali ban, might be elevated here due to Rob Smith not qualifying at the moment. All cranky duckhead as that Robert Ramsell goes P7 in this one. The 181's now coming up. That is Gary Clauble, who moves up into 2nd place. What about Mathew Hicks? He's down in 7th. He stays in 7th. John Gooday still not got that lap time, Dan, on the board, so still clearly struggling at the moment as he crosses the line. He's only just come out of the pits. But for Rob Smith, not set a lap time. Cranky Duckhead, not set a lap time. That's going to help Lando Norris and Jamie, who both get a bump up the grid a little bit.
You just get a lap time on the board. That's all you need. Once that lap time's on that board, then, like I said, you can do what you like from there. Yeah. But if you can't even do that at this stage of qualifying, then you might as well just pack your bags and get ready to start focusing on the race. But it's incredibly important. Yes, they're trying to go for all-route speed and try and be the fastest, but it's kind of pointless if you're not even on the board at all. So that time it needs to go on.
I know Rob Smith's daughter is under the weather, so if he isn't to take part, that might possibly be why. So we'll understand there as Luke Saunders moves up into 7th place. A few drivers coming towards the line now. The 117, Richie Michelle, goes into 2nd place, 8 tenths off of Ellie. But here comes Robert Smith down into P5, comes to line back up into P3. 9/10 of a second off of the pole. The 5:01 is coming to the line. Has DJ Phil got to the line? No, DJ Phil hasn't, so he's another driver who will not get a lap time on the board and will promote a few other cars. Robert Ramsell to the line now. He makes a late charge up into P5. What about the 181 of Gary Clauble? Big wiggle out the exit of the corner there for Gary Clauble. Not what he'd have wanted, though, as he comes down towards the start line. Backs out of that one. The 88 now of Mathew Hicks to the line. Can he find any more time? No, he cannot. And John Gooday, Dan, he struggled in qualifying all season, does not get a lap time on the board, and that could hurt him.
It will hurt him massively. He's done, and Robert Smith is done as well. He's gone off. Yeah, this is exactly what we were, saying. You just need a lap time on the board, and now you've got so much work to do, unnecessary work that you don't need to be doing. And yeah, it's going to be a very, very long night's worth of racing for John.
Yeah, indeed it is. It's going to be painful from there as well. We've got a couple of cars still on a flying lap. DJ Phil's still going around, but he is on an invalidated lap. Here comes Luke Saunders, though, to finish his qualifying, trying to go quicker than the man behind him on the road, that of Stephen Beck. And Luke Saunders towards the line does go quicker than Steve Beck. Steve Beck's had a moment and has gone off. And Stephen Millington only down in 11th place. Not the pace from Millington that we was expecting. And I don't... DJ Phil actually didn't take the checkered flag, so may have just crossed the line in time. So let's see if DJ Phil gets a lap time on the board here. Through DLEP he comes, up and over the brow of the hill. Here comes DJ Phil towards the line. Has he got a lap time in? He does. 6 seconds off the pace, but crucially P15.
Yeah, crucially ahead of Lando Norris, Rob Smith, Player Man, Goudet, Jamie, and the Cranky Duckhead as well, and Mirko Ritchie to add to that as well. So that's the importance. He's just gained 3 or 4 places on this one.
Yeah, like Dan says, that is the importance of around this circuit. It means as well that he's got less cars to overtake, meaning that he's in a better position at the start of this race as we get ready to get underway. Dan, it's hard to look past Ellie and the pace she's been showing in recent weeks, but who are you looking at here?
If I'm honest, this race is wide open. I say that Oulton Park is the worst circuit, but it also is the one circuit that probably brings the most drama, just because people get defeated by the track themselves. So yes, Ellie's on pole position. Yes, she's looking strong. But again, track limits, bumps, curbs are what's going to possibly cause problems here for Ellie tonight. I honestly don't know who to say. I'm going to go with Pro-Am being a great entertaining race, and I'm looking forward to every single lap.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll go with that one with you. Then there's 30 seconds till the race start, and Ellie now doesn't just make it 3 wins from 3 and 3 fastest laps from 3, she also makes it 2 pole positions from 2, and that is absolutely great start to her day. She became one of the most successful drivers already at Suzuka, and she's already up there on one of the most successful drivers at as I'm using the wrong keyboard to type there, at Oulton Park. So very well done to Ellie already in this this series already, and she could be one to make the step up. We've seen some of her pace looking in the pro category. That could be an interesting one to see if she makes the step up into the pros next season.
Yeah, definitely so, and I also think that we'd have to see how she does in the pro. As Richie Michelle has learnt as well, it's easy enough to lead from the front, and again, the Pro-Am grid is still a very competitive grid nonetheless, but the pro category is a whole another level. We've seen it in the past, haven't we, Matt, with the likes of Nova, Max Mulder. Obviously, Max Mulder sadly has been got a new job and has ended up spending more time with working rather than racing. But we've had that with him. We've had that with the likes of other drivers as well. Come up into the league. Then Daz Automatic was there fighting against me in the Pro-Am category. There's only ever been a handful of drivers who've really been able to make it competitive in Pro-Am.
The one name that springs to mind for me is Fury. Got relegated on merit. Worked on his driving, worked on his pace, won the Pro-Am, come back up, and then showed us what he was made of. And to be fair, was kind of like the Robert Kubica of SimPlay Motorsport, if you will, at the time. He was always sort of there without actually winning a lot, you know what I mean? And I'm not talking just race wins. I'm talking like he could be a pro champion, like Kubica could have been an F1 world champion, but obviously that was different circumstances, different reasons. Fury was a nearly man, wasn't he? He was always there or thereabouts. It just didn't happen for him.
Yeah, he was always the bridesmaid. Kind of like the seasons of where Vettel went on to win multiple titles, and Alonso was always there. He was always there or thereabouts and in the hunt, and just could never get the job done, whether it was an incident or a mistake or whatever. And that's the beauty though with Pro-Am. It's yes, you learn to win in racing and become dominant in this class, but again, like you come into the pro, you've seen it multiple times this season, Matt. You make one mistake in the pro, the whole pack swamps you up.
You go back a few races, Dan, and I think we was having this discussion off air Thursday night. Earlier in the season, when a few more drivers was able to attend, you make one mistake, you're going from like top 5 to possibly bottom 15, if not into the 20s, because it was such a tight grid.
Yeah, and the one that sticks to my mind and still will stick to my mind is Catalonia.
Yes.
Just the fact that the sprint race, yes, there's a circuit you can overtake, not the best one to overtake, but it is still doable. The whole pack was stuck together, but no one could clear anyone because no one had that greater advantage.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's going to be very different here, but we'd be interested to see how they end up in the pro, because the pro drivers are a bit more rough, I would say, right to the limit, and will push you right to the very edge.
Just
but
the extra inches of the circuit they push, don't they? And that's where it's going to be interesting to see next season when Richie Michelle and possibly Ellie and others take up to the pro. But it's round 22 and it's green and go for the start of the second race, and already Richie Michelle having a good start, pretty equal with Ellie as they come in towards Old Hall Corner. Ellie has that lead, then it's a good start from the front 4. As we drop further down the pack, it all looks pretty clean everywhere at the moment in this race, and a great start from everybody on the circuit. Cranky Duckhead's dropped to the back. Playerman's also had a moment. He's very slow, and Lando Norris and Jamie, 2 of the drivers who had to miss race 1 are coming together. Both managed to stay on the circuit, and John Gooder had to come to a standstill.
Not good for them at the start, but Ellie got the clean start away that she needed, and now all she has to do is pull away from Richie Michelle, and then it's just it's fighting the elements of the circuit. Meanwhile, Robert Ramshaw is trying to go around the outside of a few cars. He's actually dropped down the order. He's dropped behind Luke Saunders and Paul Williams, so he's not had the best of starts here. A little bit of scuff damage to the front end of his car, but they're all managing to negotiate the early part of this race relatively clean here or there. But nonetheless, it is Ellie out in front in her Ferrari ahead of the Lamborghini and then the Porsche of Gary Clavel.
You're just watching Jamie and Lando Norris down the order, who was having a great fight in towards the Britain chicane. Old Sim Race has gone off. Lando Norris has had a moment into his lops, and off he goes. And I tell you what, John Gooder is seeing these two have a cracking fight before Jamie's little off track there, but he just cannot find a way through when one of these two is making a mistake. Already the top 3 started to pull away, and it is 5 manufacturers in the top 5 once again, showing how much the BOP is working this season. It has been fantastic to see Robert Randall on the back of Luke Saunders there, and then it's Steve Peck who's got Old Sim Racer. Stephen Millington's tapped the back of Mathew Hicks. Hicks stays sideways, manages to keep it going. Sim Racer goes relatively slow to let Hicks gets back up to speed. This could bring Michael into play in the Nissan, who's going to look up the inside in towards Old Hall Corner, and Sutty is going up the inside as well of Sam in towards Old Hall Corner. Sam though trying to hang it around the outside. Michael's on the grass, Millington's giving him the room. They're going to nearly be 3 wide down towards Cascades, and through goes Graham, and he's now off again.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but Graham. And do you know the funny thing is? The funny thing is he signed up to be a Patreon, and what track has he got in mind?
Well, we'll make this one clear to everybody. This is Sutty's pick. This is Sutty's pick for next season. So what has happened to C-Pep? That's at the hairpin. So unless he's gone deep overtaking somebody or there's been an incident, that is a strange place to go off on your own.
Yeah, very strange, and he's going to drop to the back of the pack. But Graham's it goes from bad to worse.
Oh, Gary Clarbell's off as well, Dan, on the exit of Knickerbrook. coming up the hill. Now, that's a bit easier. Where he's gone off, I wonder if he's hit that drain. There is a drain on the curb. You can't run too much of it as you go up the hill, because you do sort of bounce over what we believe is a drain cover, and it really can unsettle the car. So Gary Clarbel as well now has dropped down towards the mid-pack, I believe, here. Let's just take a look. Yeah, he's ahead of Mathew Hicks at the moment. Battle on, though, down the order is Michael here having a look up the inside of that of DJ Phil. DJ Phil, look, got that lap time on the board, didn't he, in qualifying? He now sits P12. He's gained 3 places just because he got the lap time in and can easily defend now as Michael looking to the inside of Old Hall Corner. What's Field going to do about this? Michael up the inside, backs out of it.
Indeed, yeah, Michael not really got quite the confidence there. A very, very big GTR trying to find its way past a pad running DJ Phil, but Goude's just behind him as well. And again, this is the problem. They all just end up in a train where they can't pass one another. GT4s, you might have been able to have a little bit more of a scrap, but here, you really can't do anything.
It's the mental game.
Yeah, it's strategy and mental now. It's always a strategy. DJ
oh, yeah. That, to me, has that possibly been a tap from the back of Michael? And he is going to have to wait till the very back of the pack. I think he might be able to just rejoin before Graham comes along, and indeed he does. Benny saying that not better than my pick, though, Dan. We won't even go there, Benny, with that one. Robert Ramsell's got damage on his car, so interesting as well on the front. Don't. Let's not go there with that one. The only thing worse would have probably been the Nordschleife, as Gary Clarbel running a lot of that exit curb once again, and Mathew Hicks now getting a run up Clay Hill side by side in towards Druids. And I tell you what, he's done it before Druids. Mathew Hicks passes Gary Clarbel. He's gone deep though at Druids, and that's going to allow Clarbel and Millington through. Mathew Hicks, lovely move. Oh, he can't get it back together, and he's in the wall. Oh, he's holding his brakes for. Oh, no. All fine, we're all good.
At least he didn't do that on a particular mountain. That would have been sketchy.
Yeah, it would have been a bit dodgy, wouldn't it, at the start of the season? Jeez. Right, that it is. Oh, that's Rob Smith off. Rob Smith off, and Jamie's just collected him as he was on the grass and having a moment and tapped him round. Sutty's also wide here as we see them coming through dearly. Sutty with a bit of damage to front at Bentley. Not surprised he went head on into a wall, but he's on the back of DJ Phil with Stephen Beck on the back of him. Luke Saunders is trying to get on the back of Old Sim Racer, and out front Ellie, fastest lap, 3.5 seconds. Sunday drive.
Not done yet, Matt. We're only 6 minutes into this race, so
it's easy though in that position, isn't it? She doesn't have to push as hard. She can just take the track and cruise that little bit more, can't you? Because this is a track you don't want to go too aggressive on.
Yeah, but also, like I said, just you lose your concentration ever so slightly, and the circuit will bite you back. So early on, meanwhile, is pulling away from Richie Michelle. And then Robert Smith in that third place position from Paul Williams, who's having a spectacular Oulton Park here. He's driven really well so far, as Robert Ramsell in 5th. 6th is Luke Saunders. 7th is Gary Clarbel. 8th is Stephen Millington, Old Sim Racer in 9th, and Sam running off your top 10. Sad that Fat Bloke didn't complete the season as well in his other McDonald's live. Oh, Robert Ramsell's had a big moment all on his own there, and now Old Sim Racer's looking to make a move on him.
Robert Ramsell. Oh, Robert Ramsell. Sorry, I went to Robert Smith there for some reason. Robert Ramsell then, so I'm not sure where he's gone. No, Robert Ramsell. Stephen Millington. Stephen Millington. Yeah. Old Sim Racer is all over the back of him, and yeah, it is a shame that Fat Bloke couldn't complete the season. One thing we have forgot to mention though is don't forget in that description to check out our fantastic sponsors, Design Manchester and Audio Sport. Design Manchester, who are producers of vinyl, graphics, laser engraved gifts, mugs, printed clothing and much more, including SimPlay Motorsport merchandise. Keep an eye on their Facebook page. There could be some track layouts coming soon. Mike has been asking me a few questions about some I got for my birthday, and he's trying to work on possibly getting some track layouts made on like some certain different bits, dark wood and things like that. So keep your eyes out on his Facebook page if they do come, because they will look fantastic. Also check out Audio Sport, manufacturer of VW Transporter, T4 audio solution and styling products. Head over to www.audiosport.co.uk. At the Britain chicane, that was him rejoining then, I think, Dan, as I just looked at my screen, I do believe.
Yeah, he had a moment, and Gary Clarbel has managed to work his way through. And like I said, this is where the mistakes are going to start feeding in. You think you're in a rhythm, and then a bump or a curb just catches you out ever so slightly. and then you're in all sorts of trouble.
That's one of the problems here as well, Dan, isn't it? It's just
John Goudet's dropped to the back of the pack. He was 12th, and he's now got rear end damage as well to his Mercedes-Benz. He's dropped all the way behind.
He's behind everyone but player man.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting there. What I was about to say is now Stephen Millington's had a moment, which was good back to that fight. So he's lost out now to Luke Saunders, and Old Sim Racer is going to get through. That, to me, with what I've saw there, just based off what we clicked onto, I think he's gone a little deep trying to overtake Luke Saunders and has ran wide at the final corner. But Dan, you just brake slightly different at this circuit. All of a sudden brake on a bump or before a bump, and that can really unsettle the car, can't it, at this track? It's such a bumpy circuit.
Yeah, it's incredibly bumpy. Where you think that you've gone round it a few thousand times thinking, yes, I've got that dialed, and then out of nowhere you turn a millimetre too far or too harsh or whatever, and you end up spat into the wall, and then you're in serious trouble. Paul Williams, meanwhile, is right on the back of Robert Smith. Is this a possible opportunity for him to get a podium? I'm not sure he's had a podium this season.
I'll look into that on the statistics now, but I think you might be right. If I find Paul Williams' name, he's had a third place. He has had a third place this season, but still, I'm sure he'd love to get on the podium once again. He's going great guns at the moment. Just behind that is that Luke Saunders, Old Sim Racer, Steve Millington and Sam fight. Michael is also on the back of that, dropping back further. Mirko Ricci coming from the very back of the pack at the minute, Dan, and he just kind of is picking up drivers that are making their own mistakes or having problems in this race because he's moved up to P12. Steve Beck is still on the back of DJ Phil, just proving how difficult it is to overtake. Steve Beck's got a lot more pace over DJ Phil, but just cannot get through anywhere he looks. Graham's had a moment because he's fell behind him by a couple of seconds, and John Gooday's now last behind Playerman. And Playerman was a long way behind John Gooday a minute ago.
He was indeed. I'm not sure what is going on with John Gooday here. Not enjoying this way. He's got damage to the front of his car. So has he gone possibly deep in that fast left-hander, maybe? But yeah, it's a shame we don't have safety cars in this game, because that would be brilliant, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'd bring the pack up a little bit as Old Sim Racer tried to get the run on one or two cars. I believe we've had a retirement from this race in the 117. Robert Smith, as we're watching the fight of Luke Saunders, is off at the hairpin, and I believe we have had a retirement from this race. I can't see who. It's not Rob Smith, who I expected to be gone. So someone has just left the lobby, and a contact. Old Sim Racer into Luke Saunders. Steve Millington's then caught the back of Old Sim Racer. Now finds himself in the middle of the Britain chicane. Manages to take to the escape road, and through goes Michael, Mirko Ricci, Lando Norris, Matthew Hicks, I believe, got past as well. Jamie not able to with damage to his car, but Ellie leads from Richie Michelle. Then it's Paul Williams now, Dan, on the podium. I'm just trying to think who we have lost from this race, but meanwhile we've lost. I tell you, we've lost. No, we haven't, because he's there. There's the Honda, so it's not Cranky Duckhead, who I thought it was going to be. But Paul Williams at the moment now running on the podium, going great guns. But Luke Saunders there just got that tap from Old Sim Racer, and Old Sim Racer came off worst.
He did indeed, and I'm just currently scrolling my way up and down the order to see who we have lost. I'm just trying to find who we lost there, because to me it's not clear.
Not DJ, it's not Richie, it's not Mirko, it's not Paul Williams, it's not, is it Steve Beck? No. Sam? It is Sam. Yeah, we've lost Sam, who doesn't normally retire from races, and if I'm right, was running up the order a little bit as well.
Yeah, he was up the pack quite a bit. I'm not sure why. Hopefully we'll see in the Discord maybe why. But yeah.
Yeah, so Sam then is the retirement at the moment from this race. Obviously can get back in to score points. Obviously this as well is the first week of no drop scores this season, so drop scores will not be taken into effect. Old Sim Race is now dropped behind Robert Smith, who was running on the podium. That's the closest fight on circuit at this moment in the race. And so far so well. If you do like what you see here, as Sam has just got back in, so I'm wondering if that was a connection problem then for Sam. If you do like what you see here, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you are new, as well as hitting that bell to be notified. Myself and Phil Raiden will be live tomorrow night for the Pro Series, where Dan Davis and SimPlay Racing can take a third championship in a row. And Old Sim Racing just losing the rear as he touched the grass just before the entry into Knickerbrook there. And Knickerbrook, still the best corner name in world motorsport that your dad told me the name of. I didn't believe him, so I had to Google it the next day.
It turned out to be completely true.
Yeah. Brilliant
I
story.
still don't remember it.
It was that a lady and her lover had made love on that corner as the track was being built, and one of the workmen saw them going at it on that part of the circuit, or before the circuit was made, and she left behind her knickers. And that is why it is called Knickerbrook. And your dad told me that, and I thought, no, that's too far-fetched. You're making that up. Googled it the next day, and it is completely true. 100% true. So there you go, chap.
Some interesting facts that my father brings.
It's strange that he knows that one fact. Oh dear. Mirko Ricci, by the way, Dan, due to problems now with disconnections to sound, Robert Smith messing up, Old Sim Racing messing up, back of the grid, 22nd, because he couldn't qualify, he's now running 8th. Nice, calm, steady Oulton Park drive, that is, from Mirko Ricci.
Definitely so. So you need to do around here is just keep it on the black stuff and keep it facing the right way. That's all you need to do here at Oulton Park. And once you survive that, and
is he straight lines the chicane? Oh, that you! I was listening to Formula One at the weekend, and Crofty does not believe in the commentator's curse. All you've got to do is keep it on the tarmac, you've just said, and he cut the chicane just as we praised him. Crofty, you're probably not listening, but please, the commentator's curse is a genuine thing, like Martin Brundle says. It is real, and it does distract people. So please, in future, do not do it.
Yeah, that's why I don't even bother having a stream on. I make sure that, and then Mike goes and puts the stream on for us in the background, and I'm like, I don't want to hear him. I don't want to hear that man's talking about me.
Yeah, well, yeah. Oh, Dan's doing great spin. As Old Sim Racers just got past Robert Smith in strange fashion. Robert Smith was very, very slow, not quite sure why. Luke Saunders and Mathew Hicks now gaining on the back of Mirko Ricci after that. John Gooday's on the back. In fact, no, he's ahead of Playerman. Now out there on the circuit. Sam, who's a couple of laps down, is back in the lobby, but that'll just be for points as John gets a bit loosey-goosey and Playerman bounces all over the grate and the curbs and gets back ahead of John Gooday. But John loosey-goosey out of Knickerbrook at Mercedes. He's not going great guns around here at the moment. And now what's happened to Mirko Ricci? Just as we say how well he's done, he's dropped to 13th and had a moment. See? Commentator's curse, Crofty. It's a real thing.
Yeah, but we're also sim racers, so let's be honest, we're not professional F1 drivers, are we?
Brundle said he believed in it. That was the most important thing.
He probably believes that pigs can fly. You're going to believe that as well?
Yeah, why not? For sure. Robert Smith. Robert Smith has got a bit of his bonnet just slightly lifted on the front end of that M4. He's got Lando Norris chasing him down. Going to drop back to Luke Saunders, who had Mathew Hicks all over the back of him. Luke Saunders just on the gravel a little bit.
Sorry, hang on. Wasn't Robert Smith in third?
Yeah, he spanned at the hairpin a few laps ago. And since then has been in a fight with Old Sim Racer. His car looked fine, though, a moment ago. Now it's got a bit of damage. So I'm not 100% sure what's happened here to Robert Smith, but his car's not looking great. Obviously, his teammate's not here tonight to help him out. Graham with a damaged Bentley all over the back of the Honda of Cranky Ducker. Let's go on board with Graham, who says he lost his setup for race 1. And he's coming down to the final corner. Is this an onboard send it from Graham? Up the inside he goes at Lodge Corner, and that is not quite as sended. It's as close as we're going to get nowadays. Robert Rams was on the back of Gary Clarbel, fall out of P4. A bit quiet out front at the moment. 9 seconds Ellie to Richie Michel. 6 seconds Richie Michel to Paul Williams. 6 seconds and back to this fight. And Gary Clarbel messes up Britain chicane, and that's going to help Robert Rams will get a run as he bounces and bobbles over the grass.
Hear an interesting fact about Lodge Corner.
Go on.
So back in, I can't remember the actual year, but the British touring cars made a return back to Oulton Park, and Lodge Corner was famously known for one of the greatest moments in touring car history as they come to the final lap of the Oulton Park race, and Jason Plato went on to take on a brilliant race win due to the fact that...
this has took you a lot longer than I thought this was going to take. I'm not going to lie. I've been sat there all night waiting to hear this. Go on, carry on.
Matt Neal manages to take his teammate Gordon Shedden out in this one corner. I don't know if you're watching Clarball.
Yeah, I've just watched Clarball, yeah.
They took each other out in that very final corner. Neil going for the most ridiculous overtake in British touring car history and taking both of them out, and him crying in his car after he realises his major mistake in a car that was so dominant compared to the Chevy Cruze or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And one of the greatest moments up there with Max Verstappen taking out Daniel Ricciardo and Vettel taking out Webber. I forgot about that.
What Dan's not told you is that Matt Neal went on to win the Touring Car Championship that year, but yeah, that's took you a lot longer than I thought it would to have mentioned that, to be honest.
It's been a long
day. To be honest, I can't wait for you and Mike tomorrow, although I will say this now, in free practice 2 last night, me and Kelly joked about doing it for you on stream, but obviously that bit's not streamed, so it wouldn't have mattered. But Robert Smith here, he's definitely got a problem with this BMW. Oh, who's that off in the wall? I think Luke Saunders has just possibly been through the gap in the barrier. He's lost out to Mathew Hicks and Old Sim Racer. He's been off. No damage to the car. He's got away with that then, but Robert Smith here, that pace has just left the BMW all of a sudden with whatever damage he's carrying. Mirko Ricci and Lando Norris both cruising onto the back of him. Jamie's not a million miles away, and don't forget M3 all had qualifying bans, and they're not doing bad in the middle of the pack at the moment, but so far so good. DJ Phil's got past the cranky duckhead as well, and Robert Ramsell's still there close to the back of that of Gary Klobbel, who's not had the best of exit, it looks like, from that corner that Dan's just mentioned. And now here comes Robert Ramsell once again. Gary Klobbel goes on the defensive in towards Old Hall, and Ramsell has to think about it another time. He's got damage to his front end as well, Dan, so wonder what or who he's hitting somewhere along this way.
Hopefully not Stephen Millington in launch. That would have been quite ironic. But I can understand why Matt Neal is your idol now. I mean, you've had contact with Gary Leach at Silverstone, because that was coming together when you two were teammates.
Yeah, so, he tapped me up the rear there. Well, hang on a minute. We speak of Silverstone. I remember 2 Lamborghinis back in the day, FU Racing. I remember 2 Lamborghinis coming together. The same race, actually, that Gary and me made contact.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, Sim Racer is flashing the back of Mathew Hicks. And Mathew Hicks is always touched the grass. He's understeered wide at Island Bend. He's touched the grass, and look, it's just like a ballerina round and round. That is not the best position that he finds himself in, and well, that's probably the most sensible thing to do. Reverse it back and probably get it going where there is a gap. And at the minute, he's possibly got to wait for the 68 of Stephen Beck to come through. Graham's a bit further back. He could probably go now, and he chooses to do so and manages to get back on his way. But huge moment there. Michael, though, giving him the flash of the lights and the hurry up. He's now ahead of Old Sim Racer as well. And Mirko Ricci still on the back of Luke Saunders. Rob Smith
is off at the
Smith? That's down the order, yeah.
Yeah, he's just dropped out at the end of Lodge Corner. Does him and Old Sim Racer possibly come together? Who knows? It's a very high possibility.
Are we just going to name every teammate that's possibly hit their teammate around this corner? Well, Rob Smith's now been lapped along with Sam down in this race. John Gooday, he's also off at Cascades. He's now also been lapped. Not going well for a few of these drivers out there today, but just looking at Luke Saunders, Robert Smith, who's under immense pressure, by the way, from Mirko Ricci. The BMW, he had good pace earlier on. He's just got nothing at the moment. Well, every damage he's carrying, that is hurting him.
Yeah, it's probably understeering quite badly now. The damage is on the front, so the front will not want to grip, won't want to turn in, and it's also going to risk him from going wide and going onto the track limits. And maybe that's the other thing. Maybe he's got all of his track limits gone. Yep. A lot of these drivers will be probably trying to control that right now as the pit window opens in a few minutes' time. But once again, Ramsell and Clarball close together, but no real change there. But again, John Gouday's dropped further back behind. He's ended up behind all of these cars.
Yeah, he's just not having a very good Oulton Park. He's John Gooday. He'll probably want to see the back of this one, and it's going to be an interesting one for you. There will be a poll hopefully going out on the Discord this week or this weekend for the drivers or the people in the Discord to select what they'd like to see as a track selection. Obviously, all the track selections of the admins and the Patreon will be removed from that. I think we'll be spinning the wheel for one final track or maybe 2 final tracks on the Wheel of Names, and then the Wheel of Names on a live stream. We'll be doing the order of the calendar, and we'll get that calendar to you as soon as we know. Good evening to Gary Leach in the chat. Says, evening lads, how's the Porsche looking in a decent Gary's hands? In decent Gary's hands, not too bad. Tomorrow night in your hands, it will probably look awful as Luke Saunders has gone off on the exit of Druids and Robert Smith around the outside. Mirko Ricci is going to take that place as well. BMW starting to suffer at the circuit as Mirko Ricci gets close under braking to the back of Robert Smith. And this is where he's followed and followed and followed down. That patient game is going to come in. The pit window will open in 3 seconds time, and that'll help a few of the cars coming through the backfield.
I wish these drivers today would have seen the real... Oh, Mirko Ricci's had a moment.
Yeah, in the wall heavy. Yeah, that is a bit of front-end damage to the car. Rejoins there, nearly in the path of Jamie. The pit window hasn't opened, so it's 35 minutes. Pro equals Gary, really good. Pro equals Gary, probably shocking. I don't think there's any probably about it, Mike, based off of the other week. Another bad day for Gooday, says Fury's granddad in the chat. Then as Robert Ramsell's now within a tenth of Gary Clauble. No, he's not, because as we go to Gary Clauble, he's way behind.
He's way ahead. Gary Clauble's pulled away from Robert Ramsell. Stephen Millington is now onto the back of him instead.
Yeah.
So it's all starting to spread out a little bit. Lando Norris is passing Luke Saunders. They're going side by side through the second chicane. Like I was about to say, I wish these drivers and the league at the minute saw Gary Leach at his prime, because he was definitely he was an idol. He was my idol for decades, and I look back now thinking I could be as great as him one day, and you know,
you've now surpassed him. Did you see the picture, Mike? Did you see the picture Mike put in the Discord yesterday of Gary Leach in his armchair on his ironing board at his brother's? That was in the Discord yesterday. That was fantastic to see.
Yeah, Gary was a proper sweat back in the day.
Yeah, he was. He comments on you being a sweat nowadays, but Gary, I remember the COVID days. Gary were on every day.
Sorry, has had another big moment. He's got major damage to the front of that Ferrari.
Oh, that's huge.
Drivers suffering.
They are. It's drivers' mistakes at the moment that we're seeing out there. Like Dan says, there's a few gaps, but it's drivers' mistakes. Michael's got ahead of Old Sim Racer. Old Sim Racer's trying to come back at him then. Down towards Island Bend they go. As through the left-hand kink. 35 minutes. Pit window opens, I believe, at the end of this 7 seconds. DJ Phil could be the first one to benefit from that. And let's see. Pit window opens.
Off.
Lando's now off, so we're watching this fight, and Lando in front's gone off on the exit of the hairpin. Oh, and Mirko Ricci's also off. This is all Island Bend, and Robert Smith's in the wall. 3 of them off at Island Bend.
Yeah, they all tried avoiding Stephen Millington. He was on the inside of Island Bend, and they were just trying to avoid him, and they've all ended off understeering off and into the wall.
And now Robert Smith can't get going. Mirko Ricci's trying to wait for a gap out there on the track. This is absolutely crazy. This is bonkers. Drivers are just dropping it left, right and centre here. DJ Phil did come into the pits. He's capitalised, Dan, on that pit window opening. He's in and out and done. Paul Williams has pitted from third. No one else yet in the pits. John Gooday's on the back of Rob Smith. These pair are walking wounded. They're both going to pit. Mirko Ricci's returned to the pits. Robert Smith still crabbing along the way. I can't believe this. 2 cars that are absolutely squeaky clean. Ellie and Richie Michelle, they're out front and cruising at the moment. Gary Clauble's now off at the second corner, Cascades. So he's now had a moment, just looks like a spin. It's all going off here, Dan, just as Robert Ramsell pits, and he's come out the pits. That could massively help Robert Ramsell in this race.
Definitely so. One car that is still squeaky clean as well is the fact that it's also...
Clauble's off again. Sorry, Dan, he's off at Island Bend, and he's now hit the wall head on. Not a lot of damage, but he was only cruising. As Paul Williams, like you say, another clean car has just got past him.
Oh, God. Here comes Oulton Park, who's now starting to bite with these old tyres. Robert Smith.
Oh, do you think that could be the problem? 25 minutes after. Oh.
Possibly so. I mean, you think about it, bumpy track, cars could lock up, and flat spot tyres. If they're planning to stick with the same tyres, they're going to be there for a while. If you've got damage, you might as well just repair the damage and also change the tyres at this stage. Didn't work out for some Kota, but I think maybe, again, it won't probably work here either. The problem with this format is you can either take tyres or not take tyres, but either way, it's really a choice of the problem with this is like it's hard to say we need to set everyone a fixed time of adding fuel. We need to say like we must add at least 10 litres worth of fuel to give them at least 15 seconds worth of fuel in. That then might invite you to change tyres and have that grip advantage, because when you saw at Koto and myself and a few others, Gary and Harris and a few others decided to change tyres, we were just so far behind.
It was just impossible to catch back up.
We couldn't do anything with it, and by the time we did catch the cars, the tyres had died again. So it's tricky at this stage, but the fuel is king and track position is king in this case. And there's not really much we will try and find the best solution, but at this stage, this is really the best we got regarding strategy.
It also doesn't help with that hour's race, because the tyres can just go the hour. It's just over the hour where you start to look at definitely talking of a tyre change window, isn't it? And obviously, the running midweek, it doesn't help with the timing of what racing we can do. But this is going to be an interesting to see the pit stops. I don't know who is actually going to be where after the stops. Clawball's out the pits. Bex has passed him. Lando Norris has passed him. DJ Phil, who pitted first, by the way, is 14th. He is going to pass Graham in the pits. And who else he could pass, I don't know. Lando Norris, I'm noting, did he repair his damage? I think he has, actually. Sorry, he has repaired his damage. Rob Smith is 16th. John Gooday is 17th. Steve Millington, Robert Smith, third at one stage. He's now 19th. Cranky Duckhead is down in 20th. Mirko Ritchie's 21st. Sam could unlap himself the more chaos that comes around here. Robert Rams was on the back of Jamie. This one of the closest fights on the track, down towards Lodge Corner. And like Pien says in the chat, chaos as the window opens. And that is, I believe, Luke Saunders entering the pit lane from P5. What a strange moment in the race that was for that last 5 minutes.
Yeah, indeed it was. Not real. This is your closest fight, Robert Ramsell versus Jamie. But that's going to be negated soon due to the fact that Jamie will have to pit. Gary in the chat, the best way to do it, I feel, is to increase tyre wear too much to make everyone change tyres, but just enough to make it crossover and get people thinking. It'd be great to do that, but the tyre wear, we can't really set the tyre wear, can we?
Don't believe so, no. I think the tyre wear, basically the way the server is set is like a real life track. The tyres will go off depending on the track, depending on the conditions, depending on your setup, depending on how you drive. As Jamie now off on the exit to Britain chicane, hits the wall hard again as Ellie, your race leader, pits. Paul Williams now sat in P3 at the moment, or P4 net P3 at the moment, because Michael's still got to pit. Michael's only 3 seconds up the road so far, so I don't know if we can accelerate the tyre wear. That'll be an interesting one to keep our eyes on. Sam has come back in the lobby, by the way, and has now passed Mirko Ritchie. So he's got past another car. That's what you play for at the end of the day. You come back in the lobby, you return to track, and you pick up an extra couple of places.
Do indeed, and I think when I'm on board Mirko Ritchie, he's having another moment himself there. But Ellie has come back out on track just ahead of Paul Williams. So Paul Williams here. Maybe Ellie was running light.
Maybe so. So I wonder what then is going to be the case for Richie Michelle. Yeah.
Oh, we could have a race on our hands here between the top two. Maybe Richie Michelle, the reason why he was a little bit slower, 12 seconds worth of a gap. Maybe the 12 seconds is Ellie running lighter.
Possibly so here, then. This is going to be an interesting one to keep our eyes on as the race now starts to get into its final stages. 28 minutes left of this race. It's been an absolute classic so far. Here at Oulton Park, and really for different reasons. We was expecting a bit more drama and chaos between drivers. It's been more independent drivers that have suffered themselves. Mathew Hicks has done his stop turn, his jump ahead of Jamie and Michael. Where anybody is going to come out here, DJ Phil is now sat P13, by the way. Where is he? He's coming down towards Lodge. Michael's just gone green, so he's probably not going to jump Michael as he enters Lodge Corner now, but I think he's going to definitely jump Jamie. Jamie's yet to go green, so DJ Phil, the first person to pit, running up in P12. That is a great strategy from DJ in this race, and good call from him. John Gooday's on the back of Playerman. This is a fight happening for 16th and 17th. John Gooday just hasn't had the rub of the green in this race, and up through the hill they're going to come after the Britain chicane down towards Hislops. Also got Steve Beck close to the back of Lando Norris. We'll check that one out in a minute. Mirko Ricci has to get back out on track. Otherwise, that will be a qualifying ban again for Donington Park at the season finale next week due to retirement. He is back out on track, so that's great to see. And is a lap down to Sam. So Sam, he's going to be trying to gain on the back of Cranky Duckhead, who hasn't had great pace here. Let's just check where Cranky is on track. He's just gone through turn 1. Sam is... he's pretty much a full lap down to Cranky at the moment. Sam has just gone through Cascades as Mirko gets out of Sam's way. Steve Beck on the back of Lando Norris, but back to John Gooday, who's having a look at Lodge on Playerman and tucks back in and thinks better of it.
Just as you catch me in mid-yawn.
Sorry.
John Gooday, considering he was at the back of the pack at one stage, he has worked his way back up to 17th.
Yeah.
It just shows how many people have had incidences and mistakes themselves. And I said that, and he gets all loosey-goosey out of turn 1, just trying to catch the Mercedes at the Porsche, meanwhile. But Lando Norris now get a little bit of pressure from Steve Beck here at the minute. These two have come rustled each other's feathers is probably the right word to use.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens here. But Lando trying to defend from the BMW driver as Richie Michelle now pits. This should be interesting. Ellie now goes through the double kinked as she comes towards the end, and Richie Michelle's already gone green. And he's now off the limiter right now.
So Richie Michelle, great stop then. He's off the limiter now. Ellie's only just come up through Deer Leap, and she's got Jamie right in front of her. After Jamie, the next call will be Richie Michelle. So we've got 25 minutes of Ellie trying to now hunt down Richie Michelle. Is this the blinding strategy? Did Ellie, like you say then, she has to have ran heavy and has filled up quite a lot of fuel in the pit stop. Lando Norris with damage to that left-hand side of his car. He's got Steve Beck approaching the back of him pretty quickly at the moment. If we look at Cranky Duckhead, he's just crossing the line as Sam again going through Cascades. So that gap's not really coming down, but Steve Beck and Lando Norris, the closest fight on track. Ellie 9.9 behind Richie Michelle. We'll keep our eyes on that gap also.
Yeah, we will keep an eye on that gap, but Steve Beck at the minute looking very racy and trying to find a way past on the McLaren. He's already looking to the right-hand side of the circuit, and Lando's possibly gone in a little bit too deep. No, he's managed to hook it up, and Steve Beck will have to try something new and different there, because does that again, Lando Norris will keep learning that's his best opportunity, and he's really got to catch Lando off guard at one point. He really has to just force him into a mistake.
Yeah, he does. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here in this one between Stephen Beck and Lando Norris. Obviously, I think they've had a few run-ins this season, haven't they, between each other? So, bit of rivalry this season between Beck and Norris, and it's going to be an interesting one to keep our eyes on. He's already got to look at the gap down to 8.9, but Richie Michelle's obviously going to have to get them tyres into a window. John, at the minute, half a second off the back of Playerman. That is actually just in front of this Beck and Norris fight. So that is going to be a crucial one as well. She had 15 seconds plus lead. Maybe she took tyres as John Gooday taps the back of Playerman. Or did Playerman... Well, I saw a tap. Whether Playerman lost it or not, I'm not sure. But Steve Beck and Lando Norris clear one blue flag. Fraser O'Brien's right. Maybe she did take tyres. That's going to give a superior grip at the end of this race.
Yeah, but it's the problem with the grip. On a driver like Richie Michelle as well, it's pointless, because you're going up a driver who is going to defend heavy, who is going to fight for the position on a circuit that you can't overtake. We're still watching Steve Beck and Lando Norris. Steve can't find a way through. Yes, why not? She has the pace, but she can't overtake him now.
It's track position, isn't it? It's like you say, it's like Monaco. Yeah, you think back some years down where Lando, where Lewis Hamilton was saying to Bono that he can't drive on these tyres anymore, but because it's Monaco, he held...
Well, no, just look at Daniel Ricciardo in the car that was near 100 horsepower down.
Was dying, wasn't he? And he kept Seb behind him for ages, or Lewis behind him for ages. And
or more importantly, name any incidents in name any point in the British touring cars they've raced here. Yeah. And can you think of any time that they've passed, like, other than obviously at the hairpin, which we don't run here, but can you name any opportunity where they've passed and made the position?
No, I'm trying to think back to British GT as well, and again, like you say, the British GT run this configuration of circuit, and it's difficult to say. Like you say, pit stops is the key, but unless the driver's made a mistake, you're not making many overtakes around this circuit. We're still watching that Steve Beck fight. She's 7 seconds now off the back of Richie Michelle. Clearly quicker today and great to see, but I think Richie Michel's strategy is a blinder. Also, just gone on to Richie Michel, by the way. He's got DJ Phil, Michael, Robert Smith, all there. Michael and Phil are battling for position, so she's got to clear these back markers at the same time.
She has indeed. So she'll get the dirty air as well. Mike in the chat, maybe she had a toilet, Fraser in the chat saying maybe had a toilet break to give the guys a chance, and I mean, that's just taking I was going to say the P.
Yeah.
But I don't think it is. It's either tyres or fuel. It's got to be one of the two. Tyres is usually 30 seconds. As Michael up the inside of DJ Phil and contact made. And he's going to come to that, and she's had to go straight on herself.
I think she had to go straight on because of where Michael's car was parked on the track. DJ Phil there just turned in as Michael was fully alongside, so I think that's fully on Michael. Michael, he's just been given a drive-through for cutting the chicane. And I think DJ Phil knows he's in the wrong here because he's all of a sudden let Robert Smith go and Ellie go, and he's let Michael get onto the back of him. So I think DJ knows that he's possibly done wrong there.
I don't know. And DJ Phil is going wheel to wheel with him now, and once again, Michael sadly will have to come into the pits and serve his drive-through, and he does so straight away.
It's not that big a loss here for a drive-through. That's the bonus around this circuit. It is not a very big pit lane. 6.4 seconds the gap now, and I assume Ellie would have probably got a track warning unless she got right off the throttle coming down the straight. You had that in testing though, didn't you, this week? You had a limits warning.
That's what's happened to Michael.
Yeah.
I think that's what's happened to him. He's, if you head down to that second chicane, and I was testing with Will Friedman, who was actually in a GT3 Porsche, and I got right onto the back of him, and it was either going to be hitting into the back of him or go straight on. Opted to go straight on, backed right off. I even gave him probably a second gap and still got a drive-through for that.
Well, Michael's only lost the one place to Jamie as a result of that drive-through penalty, so keep our eyes on that. Ellie's down to 6 seconds as well. She's got Robert Ramsell, who's now being blue flagged as they head down towards the chicane Robert Smith, sorry. So down towards the chicane. Ellie this time can make it due to the fact that there's no Nissan parked in the middle of the road, and we're all just getting to that quiet stage of the race. Cranky Duckhead's now just coming through Island Bend. Where's Sam? He's at Hislops, so he's not really gaining on that, so that's probably going to be a tough one for Sam. But look, the fact he's got on the same lap when he crosses the line as Cranky Nubbers just proves how many dramas that these guys have been involved in this race. 4.8 is now the gap, and I'm looking at Richie Michel. The track map pretty clear. The car behind him is Ellie. The car in front is John Gooday, but not really close to him. John's just exited turn 1. So Richie Michel's got his a clear track, and Ellie is just purely catching him on pace now right now.
Yeah, but the great Murray Walker once said it's all well and good catching, but it's another to pass, and it's definitely going to be a very hard job for Richie and Ellie to do now. And if anything, if these two do come together, I mean, he's not close to him, but Paul Williams is in a position that if anything major does happen, you either gain a second or possibly the win between these two.
And the way the traffic's fell about here, who's that? That's the 105. That is Rob Smith with the yellow flag to his name. The way the traffic spread out pretty evenly across the circuit, Dan, you go off, have a moment, you've got to wait for that traffic to clear as there's another yellow flag at Island Bend. That is the 96. That is Sam, so he's had his own moment at Island Bend. But you've got to wait for that traffic to go, haven't you? And that's going to be a hard one to do. As we've seen with others in the past spinning here, it's a long wait for the traffic to come past.
It is indeed, and you just have to give it time and find your way back on track. Last thing you want is another penalty for something that's completely ridiculous. Yes, you're in a rush to get back on track, but it's not worth it. Ellie seems to be finding all of her pace in the middle sector on Richie Michel, but again, that's just pure tyres working in as well. As we got Steve Beck back on Lando Norris once again within 0.3 of him, and this could get spicy once again between these two.
Yeah, indeed it could. It's been a battle that's ebbed and flowed a little bit. Lando did have a bit of a gap momentarily, but Steve Beck has now got onto the back of him yet again in this race and is trying to find that way through as he comes through the Britain chicane. Just tries to get a better run, but Lando Norris just holds his line before getting on the power, and that just cost Steve Beck a bit of time to get on the throttle and away. We've got Jamie also gaining on the back of DJ Phil at the moment as they come through Hislop chicane.
It's a shame, like I was just sitting here thinking, to make a better overtaking opportunity, would it have been better, like, the second chicane not existing at all?
I'd have thought so. Get a good run out the hairpin, straight up and over the hill down towards Hislops. You're going to have a bit of a longer straight, better run to get up the inside, and yeah, I think so. I also think this track just needs to be, as hang on, Steve Peck goes for a move up the inside of Lando Norris later on the brakes, gets the move done, runs a little deep, but Lando pretty much came to a stop to give the room to Steve Peck, and Steve Peck gets through, so job done there. Yeah, I think it would have been better without the second chicane. I also think it would have been better just, a couple of inches wider.
Yeah, less bumpy.
Yeah.
Basically, just get rid of this track.
Basically, so I nearly said a bad word there, and I meant to be a professional. Yeah, I meant to be a professional. I know, well, basically, sort your stuff out. Oulton Park, MSV, get it sorted. And I was
going to, though.
No, they're not. That's the problem. I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, Dan, about a driver we used to have called Hardick. Remember him? Remember, yeah. I practiced his name all day. I was like, yes, got this done, Dan. Come on, stream.
Said it straight away.
I sat up, didn't I? Hey?
That was brilliant. That was
professional. Yeah. Lando Norris trying to fight back. We've also got DJ Phil with Jamie on the back of him. They've got Mirko Ricci behind them, who's trying to unlap himself. Gap out front is 1.9 seconds now. So Richie Michelle there coming through Island Bend. What, we've got 16 minutes left. He's coming through the Shell Oils hairpin in towards Britain chicane. And he's got Ellie not far behind. They've both lapped John Gooday. Next car in traffic is the 59 of Steve Millington. He's at Hislops, so he is well ahead. History between these two, says Mike, but I'm not sure. Jamie's had a moment. I think has Mirko tapped him, because Mirko was in the gravel trap as Jamie had a spin. So I'm not sure, and Jamie has to wait now for Steve Peck. He's rejoined us. Now Michael Harris gets tagged by Jamie on the unsafe rejoin there. And now Jamie goes back off track, and Robert Ramsell nearly hits them.
Bit messy there.
Yeah, a little scruffy and scrappy, but that puts Michael back into P12. And, yeah, as we were. Right, this is Ellie's onboard view. That is Richie Michelle. The gap is 1.7 as we cross the line in a moment. Tell you what, Mike's going fishing for a setup, I reckon. Drive-through penalty, that is Jamie for track limits. That is at the chicane as well, so I wonder if he's cut the chicane. 1.4 the gap now.
1.4 is the gap, and yeah, we'll see what happens here, but nonetheless, these two will be possibly heading up into the Pro. Hopefully, Ellie will be able to join us in the Pro, because I think Pro-Am is not fast enough for her.
Yeah.
But we'll have to discuss that as an admin team. Stephen Millington now is caught onto the back of Player Man as fights is starting to happen. Yeah, let's just get rid of Oulton Park and get Thruxton here instead, because Thruxton's definitely
yeah, I've been there.
Oh
yeah.
Imagine GT3s around Thruxton.
I'm a fan of that.
The only problem with it is
obviously who's got the minerals to go through Church Flat? I don't think you'd be able to in one of these.
You possibly could. I don't know what the Porsche Supercups do. They still obviously race at Thruxton, and they go at some pace. But obviously, due to the viewing and the not up to date
facilities,
catch fencing and stuff like that. Obviously, an independent company not owned by MSV, their own little circuit down there. But it would be interesting to see how GT3 cars would get on around there.
I think so. It's a shame that we don't have Croft in the British GT calendar, as well as I don't think Knockhill would be able to do it. I think that is too small. Having been to Thruxton and Knockhill, that is very basic. We're just watching Lando Norris catch onto the back of Stephen Beck. We're about to lap a pink Bentley that's just had a moment through Cascades against the Sutties. Had an eventful night. Stephen Millington has now passed Playerman and has got clear, and the gap out front is 0.8 of a second down. And there is Ellie, there is Richie Michelle with Playerman just in front. She's on him now. 13 minutes to try and get past.
She is indeed, but I think it's going to be a bit hard for her to do it.
Let's not forget back to Suzuka when they used to have that fight. She pulled a blinding move, set up from Spoon all the way to the Casio Triangle chicane. But like you say, Suzuka, F1 fit, wider circuit than this, as Playerman probably wisely cuts the chicane, rolls it through. I say wisely. You've got to watch doing that, haven't you, as a back marker? Because that could have easily have pinged him a drive-through penalty.
Yeah, but as long as you come off the throttle or even touch the brakes and make sure that you were definitely slow enough and you did not gain an advantage, yeah, we could. It would have been fine, as Rob Smith is back into the pits.
Yeah, he's been in the pits for a while, so that's going to be interesting. He has got to the three-quarter distance, I think. No, the dot's not moving. That may be his daughter, though, as well, so it might not be a retirement due to other reasons. His daughter is under the weather, and he did say if he does retire, that it will be the reason. As Ellie, looking back from Richie Michel's car, got very, very close to the rear of Richie Michel there, and that was very, very close. And the pink Ferrari, looking from 4 wins in 4 races for herself, is she's pushing it, and she's giving it her absolute all, and why not? She wants another race win. Richie Michel's already the champion. He'd love another race win. But for Ellie, she's come to prove a point amongst Richie Michel, who has a big wiggle on the exit of Cascades.
Lando's off at Island Bend. He's dropped and lost loads of time to Steve Beck, and Mathew Hicks has got past him, as has Gary Clarble, but no DJ Phil. But Ellie, though, is really putting the pressure on Richie Michel now. Who's going to come out on top? Richie Michel, all he has to do, like I said earlier on, is just plant the car in the middle of the circuit, and there's nothing Ellie can do then. No,
and he's got to try and force this somewhere and somehow. If you like what you see here, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you are new, as well as tune in tomorrow night. Myself and Phil Raiden are live for the Pro category, where Dan Davis and SimPlay Racing can take another championship. That'll be Dan's 10th on the SimPlay channel. Richie Michel hits that drain, though, and gets a bit bumpy over the curb. And here comes Ellie having a look to the outside line of Druids. They're side by side with each other. Ellie brakes earlier, tries to get the up and under. There's a Steve Bennington who's off. She squeezed on the inside. This could be great down towards Lodge. Ellie is through on Richie Michel, who once again pulls a masterclass of an overtake.
He made him look like a mug in that one, an absolute mug. And Ellie retakes the lead and on her way forward once again. Poor Richie Michel, one mistake, and like I said, that one mistake, if you're in the Pro, that would have been one car getting through, that would have been multiple cars coming through. You
would have just been mugged. Would have been quicker to have pulled to the side and let everybody past and carry on your way. But Richie Michel there loses out to Ellie. It's another masterclass overtake from Ellie, who's looking from 4 wins in 4. While all that happened as well, Robert Smith in the background got past Playerman. He's also passed John Gooday, who's having a shocker of an evening at the moment. Sam has got past Rob Smith. Rob Smith has just messaged me, or put in the Discord, that he pitted for repairs, forgot to turn repair on. So he's been back in the pits for another repair. But that has allowed Sam, and this is why we say to drivers, don't quit. Sam got disconnected from the lobby, has come back in, and is still going. Sam through Cascades, while Cranky's only at his lobs. Possibly time, if Cranky keeps making mistakes, to get Sam to get onto the rear of him. But like the chat saying, top move there and great racing from Ellie. And indeed it was. And she's already left Richie Michel in dust at the moment. As Luke Saunders, well, he's running 2.8 behind old Sim Racer. Field pretty spread out by Playerman and Rob Smith. But you feel that Rob Smith, his night was wrecked when he got that damage, and it's just a comeback drive and see where he can finish now, isn't it?
It is indeed, yeah, and it's just hoping that other people make incidences and mistakes towards the end, and this is where tyres start to wear off and people start to lose concentration and get fed up with the circuits, and after thinking that, you know, this is a great track to race on, and realising that you probably picked it for next season and think, hang on a minute, this is not a good idea, maybe we'll come off that idea once again and think that the mountain is a better choice. And people are probably understanding and going, what is he on about? But trust me, Matt knows exactly what I'm on about.
Sadly,
obviously we are by the way, Benny, you're my new favourite Australian, let's just put it that way.
Benny, I don't know your short time, but I thought we were mates. Don't worry, your second choice track wasn't much better. As Tank in the chat just got home. Sorry guys, I missed tonight. No worries, Tank, that's absolutely fine. You know, can't help last minute things. That's one of them. Hope to see you next week at the season finale, though, of Donington Park.
From what we've seen from what we've seen from the Patreons and obviously the admin member, next season chooses to be an interesting calendar.
Well,
let's put it that way.
Hang on. Where's my notepad? I've lost my notepad again. It's here. We've got, I think, 3 normal tracks.
Define normal.
Yours, Hypertex, PN's, maybe Mike's, maybe Jamal's.
Yours is normal.
Oh yeah, true, maybe mine actually. We've got a normal calendar, chat. Ignore what I'm saying. It's completely normal, apart from 2. But no, there's a few returning tracks next season that we haven't had for a while. It's going to be a cracker of a calendar, to be fair. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. Dan's looking forward to it. Everybody else is looking forward to it. Obviously, sign-ups will be going out over the new year. New sign-up process. We're hopefully going to get it tested for a little end-of-season race, whether it's streamed or not, just to test whether the sign-up thing works on SimGrid. And it'll be SimGrid only, as Tank puts a laughing emoji. It was nice to see Tank last night, by the way, in the GT4s. Break at turn 1. I thought that was a highlight of the evening. Only messing, Tank. Love a bit of banter with you. It's all good and fun here at SimPlay Motorsport. If you want to be a part of SimPlay Motorsport, make sure you join our Patreon, our Discord, and our SimGrid. If you'd like to be a part of the Patreon, £3 a month, or £3 English pounds a month. I know that obviously Australian dollars and other things are used at times. Would get you certain different pledges, and these are some of the pledges that you could be a part of. Then you can have yourself a reserve driver number. So, for example, PN Motorsport hasn't raced this season. Just hasn't signed up, but has reserved the number 66. That is his number due to the Patreon service. Priority access to sign up and events. What that means is that sign up and events will go to the Patreons before they get opened to everybody. You'll get a track suggestion towards the future seasons. Now, whether this becomes another tier that this moves up to, if we get too many Patrons, we'll just do the Patreon suggestions on the Wheel of Names. Pre-season promo images done by our very own Dan Davis, as well as an auto share of social media links. It's a brilliant pledge. £3 a month. It goes towards servers. It goes towards a few little trophies that Mike Matthews has managed to put together, Dan, and give out for our champions and constructors champions this season.
Yeah, obviously, like this channel is obviously building, and we're not just wanting to just build towards. Obviously, let's be honest, it started off as a thing that was lockdown. I mean, I wasn't a part of the team originally back then. I was just a pundit that got tapped by my 3-time drivers constructors champion that I didn't know would be. But obviously, we keep growing from a small league and a community that's slowly ended up becoming, I think, possibly one of the most competitive console leagues.
I'd agree with that.
I can think of. I can't think of another console league, possibly FRL when they run their consoles, and maybe another one that comes to mind. I can't remember.
ARL.
Yeah, ARL. Too many RLs. We'll just keep it simple, like SimPlay Motorsport, for God's sake. Exactly. But I would say, arguably, this is probably one of the most competitive racing leagues on ACC that's on console, whether it's Xbox or PlayStation, obviously blended together. And yeah, I was actually talking to KLF, aka Kelly Davis, my father, about this today, and it's possibly, like I said, easily up there. We are probably the pinnacle of console racing at this minute, and it's good to see, and like I said, we're trying to give as much as we can to the community, whether it's trophies, whether it's endurance racing, whether it's mixed classes, whatever. But another thing that has been voiced massively is the GT4s, Matt, has been so popular this season. Yeah. Obviously, we ran it for one season, a couple of seasons back, and a few of the drivers didn't really seem interested in them. But it seems to be the format and the cars seems to work perfectly at the minute.
I think there's a rumour around of potentially GT2, GT4 multiclass. So that's a potential rumour for the next season off event. We'll have to wait, or for the next season side event. We'll have to wait and see what happens, and obviously we'll be discussing the admins. If you are in the Discord, there is a suggestions feedback page if you'd like to put any suggestion in there, whether that's a rule change, whether that's a race format change, a category of racing that you'd want to see. Get your suggestion feedback in there. We always discuss it in the admin meeting. Now, while you was just saying that, I've got a question for you. if you win, well, when you win the Constructors' Championship tomorrow night, because it's all pretty much wrapped up, who has been, and I think I know the answer to this, who has been the greatest 3-time Constructors teammate you've had? D. Biggs or Mike Matthews? Because I think I know the answer. Because the guy's brilliant. And I'm not on about Mike. I think I know the answer to that one. I really do. But if you was to go, and obviously now we're talking as well, 2 categories of games. We're talking Project Cars 2 with D. Biggs. We're talking ACC with Mike. Who's been your favourite?
I've got to go with my man Biggs.
Yes! Come on! Get in, love that.
So obviously back in the day as well, back in the Project Cars day, whatever your teammate signed up in, we both had to run the same car. There was no mixed cars. We all ran the same car. So not only did me and Biggs win a Constructors both in the Porsche 911, but we then went and won it in the McLaren 650S the season after, and everyone was like, why have you gone to that car? And we proved that it was probably one of the strongest and most dominant cars that we've ever ran, and we've done it in 2 different cars. Mike, on the other hand, has been a little bit struggling in a Ferrari and a Lamborghini, but nonetheless, he has scored the points, he has been there, but I just felt that back in the day, me and D. Biggs had it was very professional, let's just put it that way. As old sim racer is attacking Luke Saunders in the final corner, and tapped him round, and around he goes. And I think sim racer got his own.
Yeah, because Luke Saunders got straightened up there. Old sim racer got a taste of his own medicine. We're into that final minute. Where's Ellie? There will be one more lap. The 96 is off. Who's the 96? That's Sam. Oh, Sam's in the wall. He's hit there. He's gone off at Island Bend, I reckon, into wall there. That's a shame for him. I think Cranky. Oh, he got past Cranky as well. Oh, that's a shame. Cranky's just repassed him. So what a shame for Sam there. He'd have made up another place. But yeah, Luke Saunders manages to hang on to P5. Steve Beck got a position because of that as well, as did Mathew Hicks. I tell you what, driver of the day is a tough one because Mathew Hicks, very great job. Paul Williams, massively incredible job. Robert Ramsell, solid night. Ellie, solid night. Richie Michelle, solid night. It's a tough driver of the day.
Nah, I've got mine. I've already got mine.
I've got mine, but there's a few that could deserve this.
Definitely so, but for me, it's a slam dunk for me tonight. I think one driver in particular has been, yes, we expect the other drivers to be good, but this one tonight just feel, to me, has been the best all-round consistent. So
I just want to point out, DJ Phil's gone 11th. He's gained 4 places from his start position. That is all down to other drivers making mistakes as well as his early pit stop. But we're currently on board with Ellie, who comes over the brow of the hill in towards the Hislop chicane. And it looks like it's going to be 4 wins from 4. And really, you have to say, what a performance. What a performance that Ellie is putting on. She has not ever been off the top step without a fastest lap, without a pole position. At the minute at SimPlay Motorsport, she has a 100% record in qualifying and in the races for P1. And she comes into Lodge for the final time and is going to take the checkered flag yet again to be the race winner. As Sam's bouncing off the wall at the end, Ellie will take the race win. Richie Michelle's coming round here with Lando Norris and Robert Smith and that of Old Sim Racer. But your Pro-Am champion takes 2nd place. Great result for him. Paul Williams. This will be one of the most popular P3s of the season. He nearly didn't race this week, Dan. Nearly didn't race this week. But Paul Williams is going to come to the line. Podium for him, P3. Great job. Robert Ramsell, a solid night. A 2nd and a 4th. A night where Stephen Millington didn't do a lot. He has picked up the pieces for the team, and he is going to come across for P4. 7 drivers are on the lead lap, can we just point out in that one as well?
Yep, only 7. But Robert Ramsell crosses the line in P4 in the top 4, and Luke Saunders and Steve Beck are still going at it with Mathew Hicks just behind them as well. So the BMWs are fighting hard right up to the very end here, but it looks like Mathew Hicks is not going to quite be enough on the guys in front. But Luke Saunders, can he just hang in there into the final corner? Yes, he will. 5th place will go his way, and the lead BMW as the 3 of them come home together. Luke Saunders crosses the line in 5th with Steve Beck in 6th and Mathew Hicks in 7th. Guys, get your votes on who you think driver of the day was.
Indeed, so get your votes in. I'm just trying to go through and get these results on the board now. So Sam crossed the line 20th, Old Sim Racer crossed the line down in 13th. Robert Smith was P14 in this one. John Gooday was down in 18th place, sadly for him. Graham in the Bentley finished P15. Cranky Duckhead was down in 19th place. Gary Clarbell crossed the line P9. Michael here come across the line in the Nissan P11. Playerman in his Porsche was P16. Stephen Millington was 17th place. Not a night for Stephen Millington. Jamie come across the line P12. And considering that the top 3 are all Xbox runners, let's go into the Discord chat and see if we can pick up a conversation with 1 or 2 of them. So we are here live in the commentary box then. As we can see currently, Richie Michelle is out there on the circuit circulating with his brother, who I can confirm have both won, I believe. Let me just double check this. They might not have actually. No, they haven't. Stage 2 Motorsport are still in with a chance, I believe. No, they have won it. So the Lamborghinis of Team Richie Corsa that you see on your screen right now, they are the Constructors' Champions, to go along with that of Richie Michelle winning that Drivers' Championship in fantastic fashion. So a congratulations to the pair of them. Dan, championships now starting to be decided. Richie Michelle, your champion, with Mirko Richie, the Constructors' Champions. So congratulations to Team Richie Corsa. What a night's worth of racing. Sum it up and give us your driver of the day.
Well, once again, Oulton Park delivers on a dramatic night's worth of racing. It's really... these drivers have really worked hard tonight, and in the end, most of them have just lost out to their own mistakes and their own downfalls. But in the end, it's been a fantastic night worth of racing. Congratulations to Richie Michelle for winning the title, and then also congratulations to both of them for winning the Constructors as well. But nonetheless, it's been awesome, and for me, my driver of the day has to be Paul Williams for me. He's been phenomenal from start to end and has kept it really, really clean all night long.
Yeah, I'm going to give an honourable mention to Paul Williams. I think he's been brilliant. I'm also going to then give it the way of somebody else. I think we're going to have to go split. I'm going to go Mathew Hicks. I think he's been brilliant. I think the pair of them two have been the best drivers on the grid tonight. Paul Williams with that podium and Mathew Hicks with great racing as well. Honourable mention to Ellie and Richie Michelle, Robert Ramsell, Gary Clarbell. So many drivers tonight could have won that driver of the day. It's been fantastic. We're just seeing if anybody joins us in the comms box now for the interviews. But at the moment, yeah, I think it's been fantastic to see. It's been a great day at the moment. Oulton Park's provided some great racing. Championship done, which means next week at Donington Park, Dan, the gloves are off. We can just go pure racing for the final time.
Yeah, pure racing at Donington Park, and it's going to be interesting. And hopefully, I hope we get some wet weather as well. So we'll see what happens at Donington. Yeah, but nonetheless, it's Lamborghini's day.
Yeah, Lamborghini's day. We'll see what happens at Donington Park. I don't see anybody joining us in the chat at the moment, so we will call that one a day. And, well, been a fantastic Pro-Am series so far, which Richie Michelle has won the championship. Mirko Richie of Team Richie's Course have won the team's championship. But that is all we have time for tonight. Join me and Phil tomorrow night for the Pro-Am series, for the Pro Series. Dan and SimPlay Racing can win the championship. Mathew Hicks is delighted. He's buying a toothbrush to celebrate. Fantastic. Dan can take the championship in Constructors and in the Drivers with his teammate Mike Matthews tomorrow night. If you want to join in there, join me and Phil live at 8 p.m. for that one. Fantastic night's worth of racing here in the Pro-Am. We go once more at Donington Park in a week's time. But from me, Dan, and everybody at SimPlay Motorsport, good night.
Good night.